everybody, and welcome back to another Nextlander podcast. Here we are, the rumors, the fables, the myths, the reality. Brad Shoemaker.
Our long global nightmare is over.
We have passed the Switch 2 press conference, direct, reveal, whatever you want to call it, day. It is April 2nd. We are clearing some of the dust away. Will Smith is here to join us.
Hello.
Hi. You know
I'm just
about
excited, that the rumors that we heard for, the last 5 years, finally it's here.
Yeah. Finally it's here. 17 new Mario games, 3 Joy-Cons. Where do you even put that other one? Some stuff weirder than I would have thought. Some stuff less exciting than I would have thought.
What is weirder than expected?
Camera. External
camera.
Yeah, okay.
Welcome back to Cocaine Mountain, folks. It's like, what a disaster for Nintendo.
Let me say at the top here, a couple of caveats. First of all, first caveat, we're recording this a few hours after the reveal.
Yeah.
The reveal revealed certain things, and then they backed the truck up and dumped a bunch of other information that is being parsed by about a lot of people out there. So we are doing the best we can with the information we have, Nextlander style, which means on the best of days, we've got a certain percentage hit rate, but know that we're dealing with information that by the time you listen to this could be clarified.
Yeah.
Could be different.
Yeah. Bear with us if this is a little disjointed or if we get anything wrong or can't clarify specific points, because it has only been 3 hours since that stream. And also this is just the most chaotic console reveal I think I have ever seen. For some reasons that are not even related to Nintendo.
Yeah.
With the state of global trade and stuff, like the prices of games, how much it costs in one territory versus another, and whether it's region locked and why. Like, it's just, there's so much that's like so all over the place with this thing.
So if you're listening to this, you might have more accurate information than we do at the time. We're literally, as of a moment ago, trying to refresh pages to see if anybody's come to any kind of real conclusion about some things, is prices and availability and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Also,
I guess.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I guess we could start with the stuff we can say for sure definitively.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say one more thing. This is probably gonna be a real Switch 2 heavy episode. We're not gonna probably get into too much other news and what we've been playing. Maybe at the end there, but this is Switch 2 stuff. Brad, take it away.
Yes. Okay. What do we know for sure about this thing? It's coming out June 5th.
It's coming out June 5th.
I'm looking at it right here. Available 6/5/2025.
Yeah,
that's like 63 days from now.
That's not that long. I'll give them credit. Not forcing people to wait around too much. $449.99 in the US. We can also say that.
Yes,
definitively.
And there's a bundle.
Then there's a bundle.
Yeah, but I think that's like halfway between where people wanted it to be and feared it would be.
Yeah, like literally.
Yeah. Because I kind of thought 400 and 500 were the two options, and they split down the middle, which is like both better and worse than it could have been.
There's a new dock that has a fan in it built in.
Yes, dock with a fan.
They did. Okay, we'll stick to stuff we do know. So new dock. The Joy-Cons have the magnets confirmed. We knew that from the outset.
Joy-Cons are mice.
Joy-Cons you could use as mice, or at least have that functionality in certain games where you put them down, you could use them. Trying to think what else we know for certain here. They're changing the storage format to what's the actual name of the
Micro SD Express is the new storage. So it's got faster storage in it, but maybe not like crazy NVMe like PlayStation 5 style fast, but definitely still way faster than the previous Switch.
I think the Micro SD Express is also designed to be more like rewritable in a way that like normal SD cards aren't often.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Will. Go ahead.
The mouse thing is wild. Like, of all the game consoles to roll out a mouse first,
I know.
I never in a million years would have said, "Hey, it's going to be the Switch 2."
It's so unlike Nintendo. Like, you would think like Microsoft with their PC background would be the first.
I mean, you could plug a mouse into consoles, but the games don't really support it all that well. At least from what I have played. But this is Nintendo. They were the first one to put out Mario Paint.
That's true. When you put it that way, maybe Nintendo has the longest history of console mice.
Wait, does that mean Mario Paint's going to come to the backwards the old
It
console?
fucking
thing?
should.
It should.
Yeah.
Brad's brought this up numerous times. And how you launch this thing without some kind of Mario Paint
Dude.
equivalent was
Why didn't they? Yeah.
kind of criminal.
Sorry again. This is going to be kind of all over the place as we think of facts to spew about this thing. But they're adding GameCube to Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, like the online classic games thing.
I have a question.
But how did they not also just stick in like, oh, by the way, Mario Paint
Yes,
coming to the Super Nintendo
absolutely.
category as well?
So that GameCube stuff will be on I assume the original Switch, right?
Oh, I doubt it.
You think you have to have the Switch
yeah,
too?
I bet it's a horsepower thing. I doubt the original
Interesting.
Switch could
Okay.
handle GameCube, but I could be wrong.
Again, some of this information we're not sure of yet.
Yeah.
So-
I would strongly guess. I can't say for sure, but I would strongly guess that it's Switch 2 only for GameCube.
So I have there's a little bit of info about the micro SD Express cards that are interesting. They can do PCIe and NVMe interfaces. So they reach up to 985 megabytes per second, which is much faster than a traditional SD card. Yeah,
there's different tiers of them I looked up, but Nintendo showed pictures of the ones that are compatible, and it's like the lowest tier of
that makes sense
of Express. So because there are way faster ones on the market, the one they're selling is like $60 for a 256 gig.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a reasonable price. And
the console itself ships with 256 as well. So basically you can double the storage in the console for $60, which is like, it's not going to break the bank, but also is not like an impulse purchase, like that's still like, that's almost the price of a game. That is no longer the price of a game. $60 does not cover a game anymore, but it comes close. So that's like,
we hope
it's
not as close.
Not an insubstantial surcharge if you want more storage in that thing. And like 256 feels maybe a little paltry in that thing to me.
It really depends. I think first party it'll be fine. Some of those third party games really balloon up. And I never did the streaming stuff for games, but I know, if you want to play bigger games, you could stream them, right? Is that how that worked? I never did it.
It was just specific games that were set up and sold that way, which was not super duper common, I don't think.
Like, look, if you get Call of Duty on your Switch too, you better get some external storage.
And I bet we'll see even less of, or maybe none of that this generation, because this thing is powerful enough to play some real ass games now.
Well, it seems yeah.
Well, so other things that are known, they spent a lot of time on their voice, on their chat, built-in chat now.
Like, I don't know if you guys saw, like, that had basically become a meme the last few days. Like, what does the C button do? Like, it was this, like, everybody was rampantly speculating about what the C button would do. It turned out the C stands for chat.
So, right. Could have been capture. Community.
Yeah.
Look, I don't want to be too cynical. It's very easy to be cynical especially with me and Nintendo. I don't want to be the Android did it first person here for Apple products, but like, look, it's built-in chat in the console, right? Like, I think that's cool. I think it's long overdue, but I can't get too excited about finally having a built-in chat native to the console, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're making it pretty accessible because there are microphones built into both the Switch itself and the Pro controller.
That's nice.
Yeah, and they even claim that like the mic will pick you up from the couch if you've got your Switch docked, supposedly.
Yeah. And they're doing noise canceling.
You know how that's going to go, though. You're going to be sitting there, you're going to be playing with somebody, and you're going to be like, hey, Vinny, are you on the mic? Are you playing on the TV, man? It's so loud. You sound so far away.
Fan noise.
Yeah, I guess like the one thing I'll say about it that is kind of nice is you can pop up a thing with like 4 people at the bottom, but you can see what they are playing in addition to their faces. It's not just their faces. You can actually see their game feeds as you're playing as well. So if I don't know. I mean, like, Void Crew doesn't exist on the Switch, but for games like that, where it would be kind of useful to see other people's games while you're playing, like, that's actually not the worst feature. But otherwise, just for the basic chat stuff, I'm super with you. Like, welcome to 2015 or whatever.
So we play Mario Kart with like family members who live far away fairly regularly, and like I can actually see using the camera thing for that. I don't think I'm going to spend. Like, if I could plug in a normal, like, whatever USB webcam I have here into the machine and it works, probably good with that. I'm not probably going to buy an accessory for that.
Actually, like my nephews live far away, and I actually could see maybe playing games with them online. Yeah. It would be nice to see each other more for like a family hangout FaceTime thing than for like actual gameplay purposes. But
yes, it's probably worth noting in the fine print, they do say that if you have a compatible USB camera, you should be able to use that.
Yeah.
You don't have to buy the camera.
Yeah, it's $50 for the camera, which is just a
Seems
big
fine.
old lens on a stick, basically.
And I assume all of the background removals happening on the Switch too, not in the camera. So
Yeah, I would assume so. So yeah, good on them for letting you use your own camera there. It's $50, $50 for that add-on one.
I missed that. I assume it's NVIDIA. The NVIDIA. It looks like their normal NVIDIA broadcast stuff, doing the background removal and the voice removal. Those are core like CUDA features for the desktop PCs. So.
And so that's neat, but like definitely not the most exciting thing here. Again, I think it's about time they put this on. Obviously, they're going to have a lot of parental controls. They've said that as well for allowing somebody in your child's friend list to turn the camera on.
Yeah.
Probably worth mentioning, though. Again, like I'm not nitpicking here, but it's just a feature of it. What they showed was a very severely limited frame rate on seeing your friend's games at the bottom. It was like maybe 8 frames a second or so.
It looked bad. Yeah, it looked real rough.
Yeah, at least they're being honest.
Yeah. It wasn't like a 30 or maybe even a 15. It was pretty low. But I think that's neat.
I assume the assumption on controls means also that we're not going to see. Like we're not gonna have a repeat of Uno on the Xbox 360 where you just log into a random match-made game and you see somebody else's camera feed. Like that's not going to be the way this works on a Nintendo.
I thought they said friends only, but I could be wrong.
Okay,
it seemed friends only, and it also seemed like the parental controls were pretty severe. Like even in the friends only, you still have to approve it if you're under if you're set your child to under 16, you still have to be around to approve the camera. Which again, I don't know I don't want to go into it now, but Brad, you mentioned wanting to see the UI for this thing. I find Nintendo's Switch user management to be a real pain in the ass, especially with sharing a Switch between family members and like guests that come over, and just not having a passworded login or really account management stuff that is more mature on a multi-user system.
Yeah, they've got to get an account login just for protecting like your eShop credentials, like so you don't want.
eShop mostly they ask me to log in, but I have that set up. I think in parental controls.
Yeah,
but I think I told this story somewhere quickly. But we had family friends come over, and the kids. I was like, "Yeah, I can go play the Switch." And then one of the kids comes out and like, "Your Minecraft is broken." And I was like,
"Oh,
what do you mean?" And they were like, "Well, the controls are weird. Every time I go to look up, it looks down." And I'm like, "Wait." The view's inverted? I'm like, that's weird. Just go ahead and go in the menu and invert the look controls. And I go over and motherfucker's playing on my account.
Oh my God.
Just logged in as me.
Wait, so it's not Minecraft that's broken, it's you that's broken, Vinny.
Well, look, that's the inverted stuff. It's just my cross to bear. But I turn the parental control stuff on initially, but all the good stuff is behind the the good games are behind the parental controls.
I mean, Patrick Klepek has been doing the Lord's work by teaching people how to use parental controls and highlighting how crap they are over on crossplay lately. It's you can't play Minecraft multiplayer on a kid account because you have to access some message board thing that Microsoft has in the background. It's always bad, but Nintendo is uniquely terrible at like their goal has always been to sell every single person in the house a Switch, as evidenced by the fact that you could only have one Animal Crossing island per console. So I don't know. They can't make it worse. It seems like they're thinking about it.
They're like a smartphone app was like the playtime tracking thing is not terrible. But it's not great, but it's not terrible. But yes, I agree with you, Will. It's as evidenced by that, their thoughts of this being a multi-user console for the Switch was not fully fleshed out, and I hope the Switch 2 adds layers back in, and they never go back there. So we did not see any of that, though. That UI level was not there.
Oh, actually, so some screenshots have started trickling out. I mean, it's standard like Nintendo hardware announcement, like major details are buried in press releases or some weird like support page nobody's able to find. It's like, oh, here's a system transfer FAQ that has screenshots of the interface you wanted to see that we didn't put in the stream.
Sure.
So there are some shots out there of the system interface on this thing. It looks exactly the same.
Okay.
It is exactly like the home screen's got like 3 new icons at the bottom.
Okay.
But it is very much the Switch 1 interface again.
Well, so I want to pivot off of it's a good point to bring up of owning multiple Switches, because they did add this game share feature.
Yeah, that's just neat.
Yeah, which is great.
It
Which
seems
I
like
think is good on them.
Seems like it works in multiple configurations. Like if you're local, if you have one copy of a multiplayer game, you can basically share that game with other people on their Switches around you. And I assume it's just like streaming video of the game to them.
A supported multiplayer game. No,
Yeah,
usually
yeah,
just
yes.
blast it over Wi-Fi. So you've been able to do this on some games, kind of with like a buddy edition. It's kind of like It Takes Two, friend pass or whatever,
Right?
And it'll send it over Wi-Fi, and then you could connect to. But it's usually light games, it's stuff like Clubhouse games or stuff like that. This seems like it's taking advantage of faster Wi-Fi, and my assumption is that since these games are still coming on cartridges, they're still going to be relatively small compared to like a big giant Blu-ray game, right?
Yeah,
we're not
think
looking
so.
at like 50 gig games.
No, I really don't think so.
So that I think that's a good and very welcome feature.
Yeah,
especially for multiple Switches.
So it seems like there's some other version of it that works online, like over the internet as well, but I didn't go into a lot of detail on the stream about how that works.
So neither, Brad, you have multiple Switches in your house, right? So we've just you only have the one. Okay, so the way this works is if you have two Switches in your house, it's easy because you make one the primary and it can always use the game. But if it's then the secondary ones can only use the game if they're online, right? So that means that like the way typically I do it is that my kid switches the primary one. She has all of the games. And then I only play online because she sometimes plays in the back of the car when we're driving places and stuff like that. The problem comes that if you want to play like Mario Kart multiplayer, because the radio can only be playing local mode or Wi-Fi, it can't do both at the same time. The moment you go to play local mode Mario Kart, your Switch gets offline and it no longer has access to the game, and therefore you're hosed. So the thing that they've done with this is, like, if I want to play 3 people in my house with Mario Kart and play with Aunt Karen, who lives across the country, then we can share play locally and all connect to the internet and play, which is new. That's really exciting and super good. So it seems like they're actually thinking about the way people use these things in a way that, like, if you're inside the same house and local to each other, you don't have to buy multiple copies of the game.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the stream. It looks like that just works over the internet now as well. And then I don't think there's any account linking involved here. I think you can just share the game with people.
I bet you have to be in a family, but maybe not. Maybe you just have to be in the same room.
Yeah, this doesn't. No, you can do it over the internet. This says
really?
Online play. Oh yeah, online play with game chat, game share. You can share. It looks like that's the like C button mode. You can share the game if you're doing that chat with people.
Oh, see, well. I think that's for like Steam streaming, like
maybe
couch games.
See it?
Yeah, it's hard to see. Yeah, maybe. It looks like everybody's playing.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is I think that means that the people who you game share the game with can still play online, which previously you wouldn't have been able to do.
Yeah, so they're showing Mario 3D World here, and it's basically one person with the game is streaming the game to 3 other people, and they are all playing 4-player at one time.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I like how good an experience that is. Like even the feed that they're showing on the other people's Switches is a little jerky, so that may not actually even be the best experience, but it looks like it is possible.
The Steam streaming stuff is quite good if you have decent internet. So,
Again, some of this info we'll have more details on as like, I think they'll have events coming up where people will be able to ask questions and get hands-on.
Yeah,
it's like a public event.
They're doing those public events in the next few days even. So like people are playing it kind of as we speak almost.
The other thing we know, definitely backwards compatible. We know, and they are doing a path to upgrade certain older games. Okay, there's 2 things. Let's start with the first thing. The first thing is some games will just run maybe a little better, nebulously enhanced.
I've got the pages right here.
Okay,
free updates for select Nintendo Switch games. Which they didn't talk about this at all in the stream. They only talked about the paid upgrades, which is only like 4 games right now. It sounds like.
No, they talked about a tiny bit.
No. They didn't talk. They didn't talk about. I don't think they talked about these free updates.
Well, I think they said there's like different tiers of upgraded stuff, right? There was those were 3 models.
Those were the paid ones, I believe. This is. I think this is a page they just snuck out because I'm talking about Mario Odyssey here and Clubhouse games.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. Maybe they did.
They talked about it a little bit. Just it was like. it was like, hey, there's 3 kinds of games. There's Switch 2 games, there's enhanced games or premium upgrade games, and then there's games that are just a little bit better and have some sort of small upgrade.
Okay, yes. So they've got a list of those here. It's like ARMS. Anybody want to play a slightly better version of ARMS?
Never would have guessed they were ever going to touch ARMS again.
So this literally says, like, by connecting your Switch 2 to the internet, you can download free updates that may improve performance or add support or features. So it's like ARMS, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, Super Mario Odyssey, Mario 3D World, and Bowser's Fury. The Zelda Link's Awakening and Remake and Echoes of Wisdom are on here, which is nice because those games don't run super great on a base Switch. So like getting better, smoother versions of those games will be nice, and that's all free. These are all just free updates.
Yeah, I like that's nice. I'm glad that they didn't try to charge us again for 3D Mario 3D World, because like that was a Wii U game that they then updated and didn't provide a path to update for the Switch version.
Yeah.
Like, just generally speaking, the fact that they're giving people who bought these games on the Switch an update path that doesn't involve buying a new $80 copy of the game feels good.
Yeah. Of course, that's only about a dozen games, like we said, and also again the language was like may run better.
So let me pause it, or let me throw this out there for again some of the information soup there. What if I put a physical copy of a game in my? Can I put a physical? Will the old carts
are compatible?
Yeah. Okay, so if I put a physical copy of Echoes of Wisdom in my Switch 2, does it download some patch, or
it'll just pull a title update or whatever?
A title update for it, and then as long as I have that card in there, I'm running the enhanced version of it should function just like a digital version. Okay, so that's the free updates that may give you some kind of spice on top of your game experience.
Yeah, like very minor stuff.
Then there's the full on look. We added some shit to this game.
Yes.
This is not free.
They're referring to this as Nintendo Switch 2 edition games.
Yes.
So, for example, you can now play the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Zelda Breath of the Wild, or Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, or Kirby and the Forgotten Land, or the game they decided to lead this whole thing with, Super Mario Party Jamboree.
Which seems like it actually has a lot in it.
Like in a series of Monkey's Paw curling incidents in the stream, I feel like them going like, hey, you can upgrade your Switch games starting with this fucking Mario Party release.
Do people like Mario Party?
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never had a good time playing Mario Party, guys.
I've enjoyed Mario Party.
Do some people wield Mario Party in a malicious way? Maybe.
Look, you all have baggage with Mario Party, I realize. But like, I played Mario Party as a normal human being, and I was like, this takes too long and it's not fun. I'd rather be doing something else with my time.
Yeah, it's popular for sure. So like for Mario Party Jamboree, which is not that old, they're actually doing like quite a bit of work. There's like kind of a whole new section of the game with a bunch of new mini games that take advantage of like the mouse and some of the other new features in this thing. It's gonna have microphone and camera support for some of those mini games. They're adding game share, like better graphics and stuff, higher resolution. Like they're doing like real work to that thing.
Mouse support.
Mouse support.
Where am I going to use the mouse on my couch?
That's my guess so far. My hope is that thing is going to have like enough kind of Teflon, like anti-friction padding on it, like a good mouse would these days. That you could probably use it on your knee or on the couch just fine.
I guess the tracking, just make sure the tracking is good.
The tracking should be fine.
Everybody get your lap mats out, and we're going to be ready to play Mario Party now.
Yeah, right.
As mentioned, both Zeldas, the big Zeldas, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, are also getting updates like this. But in their case, they mainly promoted faster loading and better frame rates and resolution and HDR.
That's all I need. I'm good.
We should talk about the specs of this actual system in a minute. Speaking of HDR, but they also have support for the forthcoming Zelda Notes app.
Yeah,
in case you wanted to use your phone as a smart piece of glass.
Yeah.
If you wanted to turn your phone into a smart glass object of some sort, you could use your phone to like track your position on the map and keep track of what you're doing in the game, for example. Apparently they're adding achievements. I saw Video Games Chronicle like teased out of some footage or promotional screenshots or something. That Zelda Notes app is going to have like full on actual achievements for these games. I don't know if that's going to surface anywhere outside of that app or not, but seems like a start maybe.
So the thing that got me to stop playing Tears of the Kingdom was having to build those stupid vehicles all the time. And one of the things you can do in the app is just download other people's vehicles and use them. That sounds great.
Yeah,
I'm there for that.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, Kirby and the Forgotten Land is getting one of these updates. It's got a whole new kind of world, like little side mode. Star-Crossed World is the name of that. Also better frame rate and stuff. Pokemon Legends ZA, improved performance with higher frame rate and resolution. Which actually, that game's not out yet. Actually, so some of these cross-gen games, this is how that's going to work. Is that these like forthcoming Switch 1 games like that,
Metroid
and Metroid Prime 4 will also have Switch 2 versions. The updates for the previously released games are paid. It is not clear if these unreleased games are also going to make you pay an extra fee.
Do we know what the updates are going to cost? The upgrades?
So, not for sure in this territory, but some of the prices in Japan have gotten out, and it's looking like probably $10.
Oh, that's
based on
I think
price,
that's
which
I think
that's
about right.
I think that is acceptable for what you're getting on most of these. Like some of these, like I said, like Mario Party and Kirby are getting like actual new content.
Yeah,
and that's in addition to better performance. But the Zeldas, $10 for like way better looking and running Zeldas on your handheld, not the worst thing.
I wonder what the I wonder what the process for the cross-gen games is. I wonder if you buy the Metroid Prime 4 on the Switch 1, if you'll be able to have the $10 upgrade to the Switch 2 version when you get a Switch 2 finally.
That's exactly my question about these games that are not out yet. Like, is the Switch 2 version of Metroid Prime 4 an extra $10 on top of the original? Like it could be. I don't know.
Their language is if you have the original Nintendo Switch game as either physical or digital, you can upgrade to the Nintendo Switch 2 edition by purchasing the game's upgrade pack from the eShop. The Nintendo Store, whatever. After you upgrade, the original Switch game can still be played on the Switch, though the features and content of the Switch 2 can only be played on Switch 2. So, it seems like they're just giving you that like PlayStation style. It's probably tied to your console, not your account.
Oh no, it would be tied to your account.
Your account. So
that's exactly how Sony has been handling it since they went to paid PS5 upgrades.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. It's weird looking at the Metroid Prime 4 list of features. Because it's it's like support for mouse controls, which like that's awesome. I would like to try playing Metroid Prime 4 on a mouse, but they're not in that. For that one, it's not just like improved performance and higher frame rate. It is a fucking Nintendo first party game with detailed information about a quality mode and a performance mode.
That's the world we live in, man.
It's like the most un-Nintendo like thing to do that I never thought I would see Nintendo going like. Quality mode runs at 60 frames per second in 4K resolution with on TV mode, 1080p while in handheld mode. Mm-hmm. Performance mode runs at 120 frames per second. Like,
I like the note on the handheld mode being that it's 1080p because that's the resolution of the screen.
Yeah,
they had that disclaimer on all the stuff that I saw in their official materials. I wonder if Metroid Prime is a game I play at my desk instead of in the living room.
Yeah, I think that'll depend on how easy the mouse is to use. I mean, if assuming you're dead set on playing that game with the mouse, it'll depend on how well you can couch that mouse.
It looks like it's going to be mad uncomfortable for long periods of time.
Yeah,
but
I don't know. A lot of people like vertical mice these days. Like from an ergonomic standpoint, a lot of people like that form factor of like tall mouse. A
vertical mouse you hold with the heel of your hand on the table, not like this weird trigger thing. I don't know. It looks
you're a heel grip guy, huh?
Yeah, I'm a heel grip guy, man.
Do you think? Okay, this is a silly question. But I was just scrolling down that page, their Nintendo page, and they're trying to be as consumer conscious, I guess, as possible, and reduce the barrier to entry as much as possible. But they literally have pictures of like, how can you tell the difference between a Switch 2 edition and a Switch? You would think if you're logged in on your console and your account on a Switch 2, it's only going to surface without some real hard work, the Switch 2 edition of games, right? This isn't going to be a PS4, PS5 situation where people are accidentally buying, the Switch edition from their Switch 2.
I would hope not.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Nintendo's going to mess this up for sure.
It's extremely possible.
Yeah. Of all the things I'm optimistic about out of this, the least optimistic I am is that they will mess it up and that people will buy the Switch 1 version of Metroid Prime and they'll be like, hey man, where's my mouse control? It's not working. Right. And then there's going to be a fact page. They'll be like, well, unfortunately, there's no way to upgrade. So the only way we can get this is to pay $80 and get the new game, and like bad feelings, man.
Do you think so if you have I guess if you have two Switches, you buy, this is what I was saying about the console versus the account. You buy the Switch 2 edition of Metroid Prime. It says you get the Switch edition also. Can your kid play the Switch edition on the Switch while you're playing the Switch 2
Highly
edition?
doubt it.
Do you think
Highly
they're
doubt
checking?
Yeah.
Okay.
I bet
like,
those count as one game as far as
unit?
licensing goes. Yeah.
Yeah. Entitlements.
I wonder how this stuff, like, this is a weird transition, right? Because it's not like I'm going to go out and buy $1,500 worth of Switch 2s the moment Switch 2s come out. And we have 3 Switches in the family right now. So, like, the first thing my wife asked when she woke up this morning, she's like, "What are you doing up so early?" I was like, "I was watching the Switch 2 Direct." She's like, "Did they announce Animal Crossing?" I was like, "No, they're going to wait until everybody has multiple Switches in the house for that because they know how this works." But like, it's going to be weird transitioning from, hey, when we play Mario Kart, we all sit around and we're playing on our own Switches, to everybody's gathering around the big TV like we actually like each other again is going to be odd.
Bringing it back.
I know.
Look, we have precedent for this, at least, like other console makers have done this. Like we said, Sony's done this. It sounds like it's the Nintendofication of what we've been through already. So, some of this is not new. It's interesting, they're putting their Nintendo weird branding on it, like their Nintendo upgraded editions and their tiering of stuff. I'm excited to see what, like, Breath of the Wild runs like on a Switch 2. Like, genuinely, like
Tears of the Kingdom, especially, because like Breath of the Wild looked okay. Like Tears of the Kingdom was really pushing that thing, especially in handheld mode, was just rough. And like, so I didn't play that game really.
And HDR support is awesome.
Yeah, we'll get into maybe after the break. We'll get into like hardware specs and launch lineup and stuff. But one other note real quick on backwards compatibility before we move on. They've got a big old page with fat bar graphs on it of like status of compatibility tests, and it's 122 Nintendo first party games are fully compatible, no issues found during basic compatibility testing is how they rate those.
Great.
The third party game, which is listed at over 15,000 games, by the way.
Holy cow.
Look,
there are over 15,000 third party games on the Nintendo Switch, apparently. It looks like maybe a fifth of those are listed as no issues found. Like the vast majority are listed as games can be started, further tests in progress.
Sure.
There's exactly one game on this list that cannot be played on a Switch 2. It is Nintendo Labo Toy-Con number 4 VR kit.
Interesting.
But it's actually because
it
like
fit in,
the cardboard goggles don't fit on a Switch 2.
Huh.
But they do have a list of games here that's kind of don't run or super don't run. This one is called Switch Games with Startup Issues on Switch 2, which I assume to be doesn't run. Like startup issues sounds a lot like doesn't start. It's nothing super crazy. Like Doom Eternal is probably the biggest game on here that I see that doesn't run currently. The Switch version of Doom Eternal. It's a lot of Jurassic Park Classic Games collection and like a bunch of the Arcade Archives games, some of the Neo Geo collections ones. Boyna's Blob, Kill La Kill, NASCAR Rivals. Anybody? Are you going to weep if you can't play NASCAR Rivals on your Switch 2?
I wonder what. I mean, like I guess some of it's expected, but I wonder what's the big issue. I mean, we'll get into the hardware stuff after the break, but is something that you think it's a check or you think it's actual hardware compatibility?
I'm sure there are little edge cases with compatibility. I mean, the PS5 had the same issue. There was this is actually quite similar. There was a small list of PS5 or PS4 games that didn't work well on PS5 at launch.
Just how it was programmed, maybe.
Yeah. Yes. There's another. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Brad. No.
There's another list. Switch games that start up on Switch 2 but include some in-game compatibility issues. This one is a little more familiar, like Alan Wake Remastered, Alien Isolation, Factorio, Dust and Elysian Tale, Fall Guys. Let's see, Hitman 3 Cloud version, like games you've heard of. Saints Row 4 Re-Elected, Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection. So there are like actual games that, I mean, I'm not trying to be rude to the games on the other list, but there's a lot more like big popular games on this list of games that do run but have some issues. Every single game on both of these lists under handling, in the handling column, it says this issue is being investigated.
Sure, great.
Yeah.
So there will be a few games that don't run at launch, but not a ton.
Well, and then there's also all of the kind of weird things that require something specific from the old Joy-Cons that isn't here now, right? Either that like Ring Fit doesn't work because you can't put the new Joy-Cons into the old Joy-Con socket. But if you have old Joy-Cons, you can just plug them into Ring Fit and sync it to your Switch 2 and it works.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Oh, so the old Joy-Cons will sync to the Switch. You just can't use them in the Switch 2, but you can't use them in the Switch 2.
Yeah, you can use old Joy-Cons, old Pro Controller, kind of like all the old controllers work with this thing. I did see the small detail that you can't wake up the Switch with the home button on old controllers.
Oh, that's
fine.
Interesting.
Which is
weird, but
I don't know if that's just something about a Bluetooth change or something.
Yeah.
Because third-party Bluetooth controllers are the same way on the current Switch. You also can't do that there with those, so it's just some...
Well, that's great. So I don't have to spend like $1,000 for my kids' friends to play Smash Brothers together.
If you're happy with your old Pro Controller, or you've got a bunch of extra old Joy-Cons around, you can just keep using those, which is nice.
Look, now the kids can fight over who has the C button.
Or the back paddles on the new Pro Controller. They added 2 back paddle buttons.
But they were there before. They were just tiny.
No,
SR and SL.
No. These are new. These are actual paddles on the handles. That I think it is GR and GL. Is that what I saw?
I don't know. Nintendo's.
I think, but also those are just mappable to other. I wonder if people would put one of those on push to talk for the chat stuff, right?
Doesn't seem very Nintendo.
Yeah. GL and GR buttons that you can map to any button you choose. It says.
Yeah.
Pro Controller is new Pro Controller is $80. I want to know if they fixed the D-pad.
I want to know if they fixed the sticks.
The D-pad on the old Pro Controller is historically bad, and I really hope that thing is better.
But yeah, well, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk some more about hardware and kind of the nitty gritty on some of this stuff, and maybe more 20,000 foot view thoughts on where we're at.
Yeah, also games.
Also. So let's take a quick break. We're going to talk more Switch 2 stuff, and I'm sure during this 2-minute break we take, more stuff will be revealed. So stick around. We'll be right back. And we're back, and this is the podcast after the Nintendo Direct Switch 2 big reveal, and I don't know why you'd just be jumping into the middle of this podcast, but we are continuing to parse information that's coming out for the Nintendo Switch 2. We talked a lot about the kind of big features they hammered home in the presentation, and now let's maybe dive a little deeper. Actually, let's dive a little deeper into the software and the hardware, beginning with the software hardware game they showed that looked like the thing that would come packed in with the Switch 2.
What the fuck are they doing?
And then said they would charge for it?
The Nintendo Switch 2 welcome tour.
That looks
what the hell?
Basically seems like their Astro's Playroom. It's they're like, hey, here's what's in your new console, and like here are some little demonstrations of the new hardware features.
Maybe even more of an interactive manual.
Yes, it looks way less of a game. Like Astro's Playroom, let's be real, is an actual video game. Like this very much looks like interactive manual is kind of the best way to put this. And then at the end, they just drop I think we literally said on the stream, like, oh, this thing will be free. It'll just be on the drive when you buy the. Nope, they are charging for the welcome tour.
How much is it? Did they say?
I don't think we know yet.
Did not give a price. I don't know how necessary that. Yeah, I don't know how necessary that thing is.
Look, I look at like 1-2 Switch, right, which launched with the Switch. It showed you all the cool stuff you could do with the Joy-Cons. It was neat, and I never ever bought it because it was $40, and it felt like something that should be packed in with the console.
Yeah.
So here we are again.
I mean, this looks like you really only need this if you've basically never touched a video game console before. From the looks of this, like it shows you how to use the mouse. Looks like it maybe has some microphone mini game test type stuff in there, but like the decision to charge for this just
maybe
seems
it's 99
bizarre.
cents or something.
Yeah, if it's like a pittance, then kind of I guess whatever. But like even if it were free, the majority of people who know what they're doing with a Nintendo Switch don't really need this.
It had some cool like exploded diagrams or exploded schematics of the controllers.
Yeah.
But like the reason you do this is to give people something that they can show to people who don't play games, to get them hyped up about buying a Switch of their own so you can play games with them, right? And if they charge the people for this, like if you're a person who buys this, you get Mario Kart, you don't get the HD Rumble stuff, you don't get the mouse control, all the other weird stuff that the new console does. it's a missed opportunity for them. It's basically a way to give your users a tool that lets them market your game console for you, and charging for it feels real weird.
We still have to learn more about this thing. They didn't go into too much detail. If this thing winds up being more of an Astro's Playroom or Astro style celebration of Nintendo products and goes beyond the Switch 2 and shows off exploded schematics of like a GameCube or a Super Nintendo, look, I'd be way into that, right? I'd be like, but it just doesn't seem like that.
I would have loved something like that, but it seems pretty clear just based on what they showed. This thing looks very bare bones, and like you said, hopefully it's like less than $5, but I don't.
They call it the welcome tour. They call it the welcome tour.
Like how do you not? How is the thing called the welcome tour not just built into the thing?
It's maybe one of the most bizarre things that came out of some of these announcements. But so what is going on, Brad and Will, with the hardware here? Is everything basically confirmed that we had talked about previously?
Like all the rumors basically were correct. I've got the video in front of me. We could just step through kind of everything they talk about as they go through it. A bigger screen, obviously. I don't know if they had like given the dimensions in that first reveal in January. It's 7.9 inches rather than 6.2.
It's a big screen.
The console is the same thickness, like the exact same thickness as the 13.9 millimeters for both. Weirdly specific. It's a 1080p screen now over 720 on the original Switch. The screen is HDR and does 120 hertz, 120 frames per second, which I was not expecting that. I was pleasantly surprised by that.
LED screen?
Yes, still an LCD. Not an OLED. Like, I'm kind of surprised how many people are like, I can't believe they're not doing OLED at launch. Like,
look, they gotta have an upgrade path, man.
Come on, man. You know how that went last time. They will happily sell you an OLED Switch 2 in 2 to 3 years.
Well, it's interesting that they did 1080p at 7.9 inches, because like there's a lot of conversation in the PC space with the Steam Deck and all the handhelds from Asus and Lenovo and all those companies about whether you can actually see the pixels at that size and resolution. If it's like, if you're just rendering pixels that you're playing in handheld mode, you won't be able to perceive. So like Nintendo is not one to waste money on things that people won't be able to see. So that to me says they've done some user research that shows that people can tell the difference in 1080p versus 1280 by 800 or whatever.
Like, this is not my arena, and feel free if you guys just want to pass on this information too, but it's some tech pod information here. Are OLEDs so kind of pervasive that the cost for the panels are competitive with LCD panels now, or is there still cheaper? Like, so, at some point things just become on economies of scale so cheap, right? Because everybody's making OLED panels.
Yeah, I think they're definitely cheaper. I don't think they're anywhere near parity with lower end LCDs at this point.
It also depends on the pixel density that you're buying. So this is a weird pixel density. Like, I haven't done the math on it, but my guess is that this is a weird pixel density. So it's not like a 350 PPI that you'd have on a phone or something like that, which will be much less expensive just because so many people buy OLED. So many phones have OLED screens these days because of battery usage. The other thing about OLEDs these days is that LCDs are a lot brighter. So if you're talking about something that's designed to be played on the go and played out inside and outside, a lot of like OLED displays now, to get the brightness that you want for HDR, are actually double layer OLED panels that are just synced up with each other, so you get more light out of them than you can. Since the big difference in OLED and LCD is that LCD screens have a backlight, and OLEDs, the pixels themselves generate the light. So on an LCD, you can make it brighter by putting a brighter backlight behind it. And on an OLED, you can't do that. So
that especially doing HDR on a handheld, that is actually, like, if you're outside with it or in like an airport with like fluorescent lights overhead, like this actually, like the LCD is going to have some advantages over an OLED.
Did they give a brightness number, Brad? Did you see that?
Not. No, they didn't get that specsy. I was actually, the HDR is definitely nice to have. I was actually the most delighted and surprised by the 120 frames per second on the screen. Not for games to run at 120 frames per second, but because you need that to get a 40 hertz mode, which we've talked about repeatedly on this podcast. Like I'm playing Assassin's Creed Shadows at 40 hertz right now, and it's awesome. Like it's just like the perfect sweet spot between like more responsive than 30, like surprisingly more responsive than 30, but also still getting like better graphics. Like the Steam Deck uses 40 hertz a lot, right? Like a lot of games run at 40 on the Steam Deck to get both sharper visuals and better performance. And so like,
Yeah,
that could potentially be a pretty big deal for games to both look better and run better in handheld mode on this thing.
For people who haven't tried it, the 40 hertz mode feels much better, like dramatically better than the 30 hertz mode.
It's weird. You would think like only 10 more than 30 wouldn't be that big a difference. It's like shockingly more responsive.
30% improvement, man.
My TV doesn't do it unless I'm in 1080p. So I was actually just looking at TVs today.
You're in luck because neither does the Switch 2. So the dock has 4K output.
Yeah.
4K HDR output, which we kind of assumed it would, but it only does 60 frames per second at 4K on the dock. It'll do 120 at 1080p. So,
I wonder if that's is it HDMI 2.1? Is that
they didn't say? I mean, that could be why it's limited. They didn't go into detail like that, but that's a little disappointing. But I mean, I don't know how many games are going to output at 4K anyway on this thing.
What about the rest of the processing and graphics powers? Is it basically confirmed from what was going around in the rumors?
Yeah, they didn't go into any details at all on the innards of this thing. So, but I think we just have the rumors to rely on there. They mostly past the screen stuff that we just talked about. They talked a lot more about like the magnetic lock of the Joy-Cons, which is real. Apparently, I want to make sure I didn't get this wrong watching the stream. It was literally like 6:15 this morning. We were streaming this. Didn't they say steel shoulder buttons on the Joy-Cons now?
The caption said steel. Yeah. The voiceover said metal. So I don't know which one it actually was.
I'm sure that is part of the magnetic lock thing. They talk like that magnetic mechanism is like very hard to break. Like they're not just going to come off.
I would hope so.
So in one of the developer diaries that they posted after this event, Kawamoto said, originally when we were developing the Switch, there was the idea to attach the Joy-Con controllers to the console with magnets, using magnets to be able to attach and detach the Joy-Cons right away, making it easier to share them. I took the prototypes to Iwata-san. There's a footnote for this. Satoru Iwata, former president of Nintendo, led the release of the Nintendo DS and Wii, among others, as well as the development of the Nintendo Switch. Worked to deliver Nintendo entertainment to as many people as possible, made appearances in Nintendo Direct presentations, and introduced products and services directly to users. Passed away in 2015. The footnotes in these developer diaries are fabulous, by the way.
Yeah.
The company, he took it to Iwata-san for feedback at the time, but unfortunately the Joy-Con controllers would wobble when attached to the console using magnets due to the weak connection. They scrapped the ideas, were concerned would make customers uneasy about using the console, and used rails, but we always wish we could make it easier to attach and detach the controllers. So
yeah, that's cool. I mean, I think like the electromagnet technology has gotten way better in the last 10 years, apparently.
Smart magnets, man. How do they work?
The shoulder buttons are way bigger. They also say the sticks are bigger as well, which I'm not complaining about because I think the sticks on the original Switch are, let's say, too small for my thumbs.
I hope they fix the dust problem. Like that's honestly, I don't care about anything else on the Joy-Cons if they fix the dust problem, so I don't have to keep taking apart Switch controllers.
I think just about everybody who's had a Switch for any significant length of time has started running into stick drift at this point. So
I mean, for what it's worth, my wife's OLED Switch and my daughter's Switch Lite didn't have the problem. It's only my launch one and the Joy-Cons I bought at launch. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
So there's a button to release these. It's kind of like on the inside, right? Of the. I assume that it is not easily triggered.
I would hope not.
In this thing, right? Because it seemed like it's a pretty gentle release. I'm very curious to see what that feels like. For the release of these.
Oh, I guarantee you, like you're gonna be playing, you're gonna be like, "Hey, Grandma, let's play Mario Kart," and next thing you know, the Switch goes flying across the room because instead of pulling the triggers, she pulls the releases, and it just drops and explodes.
I mean, it looks like a pretty pronounced button from the pictures, but I have to imagine they have designed this in a way that my big old paws ain't gonna, just hit that thing accidentally.
You're gonna have to get a Switch tether. You put it around your neck and you hook it around the main body of the Switch so that it accidental releases.
Yeah. The whole thing is just tethered to me.
It's got to be safe, man. Got to be safe.
What else on the hardware front?
The rest of the stuff they talk about is like, pretty well known or self-explanatory. They talk about the mouse mode. They talk about the microphone that's built in for voice chat and stuff.
2 USB-Cs, which I think they talked about before.
Yeah, we'd seen that in the leaks, but they confirmed it sounds like the top USB-C port is also just for charging. So because this thing's got a better kickstand on it than in the past.
Yeah, if it gets real low.
Right. And so you can't really charge out of the bottom port when you're using it in kind of tabletop stand-up mode, so you can charge in the top as well now.
It'll be nice for the airplane.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I think that's about it. I mean, they talk about, like the speakers are better. It can do 3D audio over the headphone jack now.
I wonder what their Bluetooth switch is going to be, because the Bluetooth on the Switch one has been iffy.
Yeah.
It
would have been nice to hear something about maybe wireless headsets. It's still got a headphone jack on it, though. So,
yeah, I'll carry a pair of buds when I get on the plane, I guess.
Yes.
And the Pro Controller's got a headphone jack. So
yes, Pro Controller also has a headphone jack, which is welcome for sure.
Yeah.
And a microphone.
Yeah, not a lot to know with the new dock. You mentioned it's got a fan in it now.
Yeah, I didn't realize that the newer Switches, the Switch OLEDs, had a LAN jack on the dock.
Yeah. So this one's got an Ethernet port on it, but yeah, the OLED dock does as well.
Looks like still two USB-Cs.
Yes,
or two USB-As rather.
And they will be selling extra docks for $110 also.
Wow.
I know. That's pretty pricey. I mean, it's got a fan in it now, which, look, I had to replace the fan in my actual Switch.
Yeah.
I hope it's just not adding another fan to make a bunch of noise. That fan on my Switch got real loud, real nasty. I do wonder, look, there's been a lot of movement on being able to right to repair and stuff in the I believe it's the EU. I always get it mixed up whether it's the EU or the actual UK that has implemented some of the you have to be able to change your batteries rules, for certain devices. So I do wonder if there's any design consideration with this in particular for accessing the innards of this thing and making it a little easier to change some stuff out.
I don't know. The original Switch was pretty easy to take apart, so I would hope they have stuck to that, but I don't know.
It's not too bad. It ain't like a PS5 controller.
No.
They still use tri-fin security bits, though, I think, right?
I think so.
Yeah. It's stupid to not make things that have replaceable batteries that you use like this at this point, right?
I just had to do my PS5 controller battery. It's not the worst. Just getting the shell off was actually the biggest pain in the butt.
Yes, I think I might be done taking apart PlayStation controllers because I can't not break a couple of tabs getting those things open.
Yeah, they're pretty nasty. The Switch wasn't so bad. It's just that the sometimes this is getting off the rails here, but there are such really thin ribbon connectors in those things that you have to use like a pair of tweezers to slide into the ribbon receptacles that are always frightening when you're taking the fifth layer of board off, right? To get into something.
Yep.
I have one Switch controller that the infrared thing just never worked again after I swapped the sticks the second time. The thing I'm really curious about the magnetic fasteners. I know that they talked a lot about how these don't wobble. I find that my launch Switch, the Joy-Cons, when I don't have it in I have a little grippy thing that I slide my Switch into when I use it in handheld mode, so I don't end up with hand cramps after playing for a while. And when I don't use that, the Switch, the Joy-Cons are loose now because the plastic has given on them over the last 8 years.
Interesting.
So I'm curious to see how these hold up.
Yeah, I mean, if these magnets are as strong as they act like, I would think that would be kind of self-correcting, or like if the magnetic lock aligns properly and is that strong, I would think it would not wobble around.
Yeah, it's not a mechanical interface really at that point, right?
Right.
But I forgot. We looked this up when they first announced it because I was genuinely curious. It doesn't. The current just basically switches the polarity of the magnet on, right? It doesn't need constant current.
That's my understanding. I don't remember what this type of magnet is called, and I gather it's like a pretty new technology, but yes, it's like, I think they kind of like pulse current once to it, and that turns the magnet on. Yeah. It's not like you said, it's not like it's constantly draining.
Joy-Con dies.
It's like, oh, my battery's dead. My Joy-Cons just fell off.
Right. Which, it'd be pretty funny.
Oh, they didn't say anything about turning it upside down. Remember that was like a patent that got leaked a few months ago?
Oh yeah, we can put them in.
You could flip the screen part of the Switch and put this Joy-Cons back on either way for some unknown reason, but they didn't touch on
who cares
that.
now? It's USB on both sides.
Yeah, that's true.
Just charge it from the top if you need.
Yeah. All right. Should we talk about games? Is there anything else like console-wise to talk about? I think that's probably it.
It comes with this is probably a silly question. I just don't remember, but it comes with the thing you can slide the Joy-Cons onto to make it one controller. But that's not a. Does it have a battery in it? The original one did, right?
Grip. is
the original.
It's a dumb connector for the controllers.
Yeah, it was just a kind of hollow plastic housing. I assume this new one is the same way.
Because on the picture I'm looking at, it's got little lights on it that I think are not just pass-through lights. So I was wondering if there's any electronics in it. I wasn't 100% sure, but they sold a battery one, right? They sold one.
They sold a battery one too. Yeah,
maybe like one that would charge the Joy-Cons. Maybe.
Yeah, that's exactly. It had a USB port, and you could charge the Joy-Cons.
And that was first party.
Yeah,
first party.
Okay. I was just wondering if I should look at their peripherals page again to see if they're selling it.
The straps look different this time. It looks like the straps just have like a pass through to the shoulder buttons, rather than having like a mechanical clicky thing. It seems like they showed a lot of people playing without the straps on when they were using the Joy-Con as like a single stick with 4 buttons instead of wanging it around. So.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, the straps are like attached to the little thing that slides over the edge of the Joy-Con to make it a whole controller, you know? Yeah. Which, like, do you guys use those? No, I mean, I don't, to be clear, I don't make a habit out of using the Joy-Cons as controllers sideways anyway, but if and when I do, I never slide that little sheath on the side.
You don't?
No.
Oh, so
those buttons are too small for me.
Yeah, they're pretty small. Well, they made the new ones bigger.
Yeah.
I played almost all the single player stuff I played that I'd play with a normal Pro controller. I played with 2 Joy-Cons separate, just like on either side of my, so that I didn't have any kind of wrist strain at all when I was playing games, which it turns out really nice for me. I have wrist problems, so.
What? Sorry if you guys mentioned this and I missed it when you were talking about the straps because I was looking at a picture. But have they shown how those little shoes go on the?
No, I don't think so.
Thing are they magnetic as well?
I doubt it's.
Or
I think actually, that's a good point. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe they've just got like a little rubber thing that kind of jams in the slot or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. Actually, it's a good question.
I'm trying to look for a video or picture of them putting them on, but I don't see it.
I don't think they showed them going on or off.
I don't think they did. I've got prices for. I know I mentioned some of the accessory pricing. A second set of Joy-Cons will run you $90.
Okay, Ooh, that's more expensive.
Pretty substantial.
Can I get Waluigi colors?
Yeah, do they have other colors yet?
Does not look like it yet. I mean, they're not taking pre-orders for any of this stuff, so this is not a proper store page, but they just show MSRP $89.99, same colors, the same kind of blue and orange.
Okay.
As the no other colors have been announced now that you mention it. Like remember back at Switch launch there was the red and blue SKU and then the gray SKU.
Yeah, but
it looks like it's just the one now.
If you recall, it was very divisive which SKU you got, whether you got the gray ones or the red and blue ones. When they sold the red and blue Joy-Cons separately, they were inverted. So if you wanted a set of blue Joy-Cons, you could buy a second set of Joy-Cons and then buy the red and blue Switch. They're making this simple so they don't have like fulfillment problems.
Yes. So yeah, $90 for a second set of Joy-Cons, $80 for the Pro controller. The charging grip is $35. Extra set of Joy-Con straps, $13. $50 for the camera and $110 for the dock.
Should we talk about the code carts a little bit before we get into games?
Yeah, that's an interesting situation.
All right, game cards, game cards,
key cards. What do they call them?
I'm trying to find that. Sorry, again, this all just happened this morning. Game key cards.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I think we said, the cartridges are the same form factor. They're backwards compatible, but the new ones are faster.
Well, no, they're forwards compatible. No, they're backwards compatible. You're right. I'm sorry.
The slot is backwards compatible.
Yeah.
With old games. This, it's kind of a minor detail, I guess, but they are doing what they are calling game key cards for some releases. I'm just going to read from this little Verge blurb. I'm not sure where they got this, but this is where I saw this reported. Some Switch 2 games will be on, quote, game key cards, which don't come with an actual game. Now they're quoting from Nintendo here. Instead, the game key card is your key to downloading the full game to your system via the internet. After it's downloaded, you can play the game by inserting the game key card into your system and starting it up like a standard physical game card. And then this is the Verge's commentary again. It sounds like this system might replace the physical Switch games that come with a code instead of an actual cartridge. Because there were physical releases this past generation that was like a game box, a Switch box with just a code in it to download the game. So this is like decoupling from the account system because you would need an account to punch a code on. So in this case, instead of punching in,
I bet you still need an account, man.
It could just be hardware locked. It did say that you only have to authenticate it has to hit the internet once when you put the card in, and then does not to download it.
Download the game.
And then maybe it keys it to your console so that you can't just pass the card around?
Well, you would still need the card in the slot to play the game. So
I'm saying like that, but you couldn't just give that card to me and I could just download it again. Or could you?
Well, you could, because that's what I mean.
Okay.
You could, because you could play it as long as you had the card in your Switch, but as soon as you gave it back, you couldn't play the game anymore.
Well, when am I gonna go on Alibaba and get my universal game key?
You know, I hope for their sake that their security is sound on this thing.
I mean, this seems, I can't tell if this is the worst of both worlds or the best of both worlds.
Yeah, right? I don't know. I'm not sure who this serves, to be perfectly honest. I mean,
well,
there's literally no game on the cartridge, so like for preservationists, there's absolutely nothing here. For like digital convenience people, like you don't want to be keeping up with carts to play games that are just digitally installed anyway. Like, I don't know.
But for multiple Switch households, this maybe is the right answer.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that probably, yes. If you have like 3 Switches in the house and you can buy one of these and pass it around as if it was a physical game, then sure.
I almost would love. Now that you mentioned about being able to pass it around, I hadn't really thought about that before. But I almost want a blank one of these that you'd be able to be like, you know what? I'm fucking done playing Animal Crossing and I bought it. I'm going to burn it to cart and I'm going to give it to somebody so that they can use it. I'm going to give it to my kid so that they could use it on their account in their system and take away my entitlement, like strip my entitlements from it and make it a cart. This is not what we're talking about here.
That's just crazy talk, Vinny. They're never,
At that point, I think you would just buy a micro SD express card and do it that way. Like the other thing that comes to mind is this is like newer, faster storage. So there may be higher manufacturing cost on Switch 2 carts than they have been dealing with in the past. So like they could be using this for games that are large, that they're basically passing the bandwidth cost on to you. Instead of having to ship a big game cartridge that has a whole game on it, there's like, here's a blank one that you can just put in and download this larger game.
Sorry, I think I'm misunderstanding. Are you saying the game will always download to this card?
Yeah. There's no data. There's no game data on this card. It is.
I thought it downloads to the internal storage.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Okay, he's not downloading to the cart.
All I'm saying is if they have a bigger game, like if there is actually some substantial cost to the storage they're putting on these cards, then it's like, hey, instead of having to eat into our profits by putting a bigger cart out that holds the game, we can just give you a dummy one that makes you download it.
The card's literally just a physical token for a digital entitlement.
Yeah, it's a dongle. It's a YubiKey for your Switch games.
Right. Yes, Will and I were talking before the show, and like, there is something about like, I don't know, if you buy a kid a gift for like a Switch, like my son, we bought friends Switch 2 gifts, and I'm like, don't buy him the damn cart, but get him like, you don't want to get him the cart for it. Just get him a gift certificate to the eShop so they can download it to the thing, so they don't have to put the card in every time. And my wife is like, I don't want to just give him a gift card. It seems like somewhere in a mockery of all things, somewhere in between,
Look, man, we got to stop this gift card shaming, because it's impossible to know what kids are into on the day to day. Like today, the kid loves Minecraft. Tomorrow, it's Roblox. The third day, it's Fortnite. The fourth day, it's like some sort of new video game crack that we've never heard of before. And so just buy them the damn gift card and let them buy what they want, instead of giving them a bunch of crap that's just going to end up pushed under the back of the bed and you're going to have to clean out in like 2 years.
You know what my son wanted for his birthday? The most that he got excited for when I said it to him in front of my wife. Helldivers War Bonds. I was like, hey man, you just want to get some fucking Helldivers War Bonds? He's like, oh my gosh, really? I was like, yeah, let's just do it. I was like, and my wife was like, I thought you wanted a watch. He's like, it's like, no, I want War Bonds.
Fuck a watch. I want a flamethrower that shoots out of both fists. I want to.
She's like, we usually don't want the War Bonds.
I can hit a shift and tab and know what time it is, Mom.
So yeah, you're right. Gift cards. There is definitely, but there is, there's also the physical. This seems like some weird compromise.
Nope. Don't have nothing with physical, like spiritual, and don't add value to physical things. Just buy them ephemeral crap that disappears into the ether.
But I think, Brad, that's a good point you made about if you have multiple Switches, this seems like actually a decent option.
It helps, but I do struggle to figure out how this is better than a game, like a cartridge with an actual game on it in any way whatsoever. Like,
No,
I
it's
cannot
not.
think of an advantage over that.
I mean, look, there's a complicated calculus. Like, I know that this is a rarefied air situation, but we ended up with 3 Switches because of the pandemic, basically. And Animal Crossing became an important social activity for all 3 of us. And we all wanted to have our own islands and all, which is a stupid thing to have to buy 3 Switches for, but we don't need to get into that. But there's a weird calculus when I buy a game on the Switch about, like, is this a game that I'm going to play? Yeah. Okay. Yes. Is this a game that my daughter is also going to play? Then that's like, one is a digital purchase. That's a digital purchase too. But if my wife is going to potentially play it at some point, it has to be a physical purchase, and then probably also a digital purchase. So then my daughter and I play on the digital version. My wife plays on the physical version, and it's a hassle, right? It's like, this shouldn't be that complicated. Yeah.
It's game sharing.
Yeah. We'll get into the full lineup here in a minute when we talk about games, but it does look like some of the third-party games at launch might be just game key cards like this, like Street Fighter 6 and Bravely Default. People are going around like eyeballing like the backs of box art now, looking at the fine print on various games and stuff, and those two say game key card on the box art. In fact, I believe this is Street Fighter 6. At the bottom, it says game key card, 50 gigabyte full game download via the internet is required on the box.
The big question, I mean, I assume since the card is attached to the key is attached to the card, that you can then take this back to GameStop and sell it, right?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, I
presumably.
guess
Yeah, because you wouldn't be able to play the game anymore if you sold the card.
Right. So that is a pretty big upgrade over it's just a piece of paper with some numbers on it in the box.
If places like that take that as trade-in, then I guess that is maybe an argument in favor of this thing.
Yeah.
But again, I think going back to your point, Brad, like what is the value over an actual game cart if you can fit the game on there, right? Like some of these games are getting maybe too big, and like you said, just kind of pushing the download onto the user at that point.
Yeah. I will say, so like I just said, that Street Fighter said it's a 50 gig download. I was looking at the SanDisk page for their micro SD Express card. They only have one that they sell right now, and it only goes up to 256. So it's possible that like a 50 gig game actually is like maybe somewhat expensive to make currently. I don't know.
The nice thing about 256 gigs out of the box is theoretically that should last for long enough that hopefully the SD cards will be cheaper and more available when you need one, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would guess we'd start seeing like 512 and 1 terabyte micro SD Express in a couple of years, maybe.
Yeah,
less.
I'll also say Nintendo's download speeds, especially since we got the Ethernet dock with the OLED switch, have been kind of good.
They're not bad over wired.
Yeah, it's pretty good over wired.
Yeah,
I mean, I think they have bigger. You said that. Sorry, bro. You said the 256 was the highest.
That's the biggest that SanDisk sells right now for $60.
Oh, even at all?
Yeah, there isn't even because like regular SD cards have been getting up into insane like 1-2 terabyte range.
Yeah.
But 256 gig is the biggest Express that they even have on the market at the moment.
That's interesting because I thought they were bigger for usually it's like photography and stuff that needs fast.
This spec is relatively new. Like,
I think this I think like Compact Flash Express is what photographers use quite a bit.
Do they still? I feel like my wife just moved over to SD card.
Oh, okay. I see CF Express on the same page on SanDisk page for these Switch cards. We
used to have CF cards, but maybe they weren't CF Express cards. It's like those P2 cards,
Yep.
Got a whole 512 megabytes, whatever it was at the time. Let's talk about games.
Yes, so I feel like we've like really buried the content lead here.
That probably says a lot about what was announced there.
I guess so.
I don't know,
it's
man.
Like
they were good games.
Let's start first party.
Yeah. Okay. Mario Kart World.
Look,
I'm there.
It's a launch. Yeah. It's a launch game. It's $80. It's open world. They have made what appears to be an open world Mario Kart game, which I think is like the only thing you could have possibly said about a Mario Kart game that might have gotten me interested.
I'm with you. Yes. I'm not a huge Mario Kart person, but that is interesting to me.
Yes. It's like they kind of showed it right in the presentation. It's like one giant map with a bunch of little mini courses scattered around. Like even when you're doing kind of like a circuit championship, you drive from course to course, like physically. Finish one race, everybody drives to the next course. There's like a free roam mode where you can just drive around the world. It's got like time of day and weather, so like they didn't
photo mode.
They didn't quite go out of their way to say that weather will affect the way the carts handle, but I would assume it would.
I assume they skid more and the pavement's wet. That's just science.
Right, like they showed a storm coming up and then it was raining, and I would assume the driving is somewhat different when the weather happens randomly. It sounds cool.
It feels like the scale of the like from what they showed, at least the in between sections, the scale of the world seemed different than Mario Kart kind of traditionally does. It seemed like they actually looked like go-karts driving on a real size road, maybe even slightly smaller than that, which I'm kind of into.
It goes up to 24 players in a race now, which I think is the highest they've done. So maybe there's like just for scale or for like fitting more carts on the track reasons they've made the scale bigger.
Like the open to worldness is it's funny because my wife was like, what did they announce? I was like, a new Mario Kart. She's like, oh, and I was like, yeah, it's open world. She was like, oh, open world. We like open world, but I think normal people maybe not so much because it's like a little overwhelming. Like Burnout Paradise was a bit much, right?
Like that was the obvious go-to when we were streaming this at like 6:15 this morning, or at least in my case, it was just like a slightly sleep-addled, delirious, like, oh my God, they're turning Mario Kart into Burnout Paradise, which sounds extremely exciting, but I mean, also that game did not catch on probably for a reason.
Yeah, I mean,
I loved it, but
there's a level of complexity to open world that rewards people who spend a lot more time playing. Whereas with Mario Kart, I mean, less so with Mario Kart 8 because there's 1,000 tracks or something in it now. But when there's just 20 tracks in a Mario Kart game, you can play for 10 hours and memorize all the tracks and be reasonably competent. And the open world adds a level of complexity on top of that makes it a little bit more challenging for people who have less playtime.
Or it's just a lack of direction, like that's isn't that like kind of one of the big lessons of the last 15, 20 years of game design is that some people want a very directed experience that makes it pretty clear, like, a regular Mario Kart track, there's kind of one way you can go, right? And it's forward.
Yeah.
I think
and like some people want to explore and experiment and other people just want to like kind of follow a predetermined course.
But this seems like you maybe can choose your way out of that. It's really there's open world and then there's more like contiguous world. Right? It seems like you said, like you'll race a track, it's connected to another track without loading in, and then you just kind of keep going in that circuit. So there's probably some similarity to the old cup style thing.
For sure.
Just between cups.
I would guess you can pretty much still just play this like a classic Mario Kart game if you don't want to engage with the open stuff as much.
That's the feeling I got. And like if they showed some cross country driving, so if that means that like the tire choices and like motorcycles versus cars versus what's the other one they have? Boats, I guess. I can't remember. There's 3 types of cars now. If that means like you're better off road, that's interesting because that means like it means you don't get punished for driving off road. That sounds good.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like that's the most exciting thing you could say to me is like, hey, you can just veer off the course and go do whatever.
And there's what is it, like a knockout mode or an endurance mode, right? Where you're like last car standing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a full-on like cannonball run mode where you like the circuit is the entire like across the entire map, like New York to LA style.
And like it's like you got to get above 15th on this next. What do they call those? Like a cutoff, right? Like the next when you hit the finish line, if you're not above 10th, you're gonna get knocked out.
Yeah, like good on them for doing something new with Mario Kart. I'm kind of blown away, and I mean, but like at the same time. They did it with Zelda. They kind of have started to do it with Mario, with Bowser's Fury. Like they've been slowly turning their tentpole franchises somewhat upside down steadily for the last 10 years, right? So I guess I shouldn't be surprised. But
they have a map on the Mario Super Mario. What's it called? Mario Kart World site that shows like interconnected paths between the different maps, the different courses.
That's cool.
And like, it looks pretty good.
Wow! Look at that map. That is it the like crazy spider web? Just like paths crisscrossing every which way. That looks crazy, actually.
Yeah.
I wonder what there is to do between the paths between courses, like or locations. I wonder if there's like hidden stuff to find out there if you really off-road it.
Cosmetics or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what that would be, but it would be cool to give you some reasons to like really go exploring.
Yeah.
So you mentioned at the top that there's a list price for this thing for $80. I would probably say at the time of this recording, I think we're still not sure if that's a physical copy. We saw some reports saying maybe that's physical, and this is in the United States, $80 in MSRP in the United States. We're not sure yet.
this is like somewhat understandably come to like absolutely dominate the conversation about the entire Switch 2 since that stream, is that the MSRP for this game is $79.99. And yeah, like you said, we've seen conflicting information. Is that physical? Is that digital? What is it in other territories? It doesn't help matters that the bundle that includes this game is only $50 more than the base system.
Right.
Which like $30 feels like kind of a huge discount to give somebody on a bundle. So like that's even more confusing.
And it seems like a digital code download, not a cartridge, is what it said, I think.
Oh, for the bundle?
For the bundle, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's worth noting, we'll get into some other games, but none of the other games they've announced are $80. Like the Donkey Kong game we'll get to is $70, for example. So this is not going to be an across the board price increase for Switch 2 games necessarily, but like it sure is eye-opening.
Brad, is this a Street Fighter? The cart is just more memory on it?
I don't know.
Situation?
Possibly. Like, are we getting back to that? Because like, dude, yeah, like Chrono Trigger was $80 when it came out, or the extreme example was like, it was a Phantasy Star 3 or 4. I think it was 4 that was $100 when it came out in the 90s because the cartridge was so big. I don't know if we're getting back to that again or not.
It's just like hey, look, the manufacturing costs on this physical release, and maybe it will be $70 digitally, but we're not sure yet. And maybe by the time people are listening to this, that information's been clarified.
I would have to assume it's the same for both, because this page, again, this the same page with the map on it that you mentioned earlier, their kind of landing page for Mario Kart World just flat out says $79.99 MSRP, no qualifications.
Why?
Look.
I think, isn't Mario Kart 8 still the highest selling Switch game to date? Like, maybe they just know they can get away with it
because they can.
Maybe they just think that they can.
Let me devil's advocate this, right?
Okay.
I had to buy 2 copies of Mario Kart 8 for the Switch because I have 3 people playing in my house, right? So I already spent $120, $130 on Mario Kart Switch copies. I am happy to pay $89 since I don't have to buy 2 or 3 copies of the damn game. Also, like they did a ton of they bought there's a bunch of goodwill because there's a bunch of extra content for that game. Now it was tied to me having Switch Online, which is a whole other problem. So I was paying for it one way or the other. But like if this comes with the extra content, I don't have to pay the Switch Online. It's not tied to Switch Online. I'm like I would much rather pay $89 for a game with a 5-year content plan than pay $20 a year for a service that's tied to the game's 5-year content plan.
Yeah. So it's $79 to be clear, but also like, I mean, I bet they will sell you DLC for this game as well.
If they were putting a booster pass in here for 5 new packs, right? They would absolutely promote that, right? That would be on the splash page.
Yes. Because I think we forgot to mention earlier, but they are promoting some stuff around Switch 2, like the upgrades for Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild you get for free if you're a Nintendo Switch Online subscriber, or I think you need the expensive tier, the expansion pack. But they are doing some of that here, but yeah, there's no mention of, again, like it's just very stark on this page.
Just a weird one.
Yeah.
Like TBD, more information I need to know. Like, and again, I'm not going to be blown away if they're just like, yeah, we're making it $80. It's the launch game. Like, don't want it, don't buy it. And I'll be like, buy the bundle or whatever. It'd be like, okay, but it's still a chance that this could be physical only. They could be that the cards. I have no idea. So weird one though. Definitely striking.
Also, like, can they expand it with the open world? Like, are they going to put another island on at some point?
Oh,
like,
yeah, they absolutely. This. I mean, this type of setup feels kind of tailor made for bolting more content into this big world.
Yeah.
Somebody will ask why, and we will have an answer.
Yeah, I would hope. I would hope somebody gets an interview at some point soon and just says, "Hey, please, what's up?" Like,
the Treehouse stream is happening when this is going up publicly, right? So something will happen.
Yeah, I'll say real quick before we move on. I downloaded I pulled the like super high quality 4K version of this direct off of YouTube, like the nice high bitrate one, and made it full screen. Watching this, like that's a very sharp looking Mario Kart game. Like, when you get outside of the Twitch bitrate or whatever and look at really good footage of this, like it looks really good. Like, I mean, it looks like Mario Kart. Let's be clear. Like, Mario Kart looks like Mario Kart, but like when you really eyeball it, you can see the difference. I feel like from the Switch one, like there's a pretty obvious difference in like sharpness and detail.
Or maybe you'll be doing 120 hertz on your
maybe. Yeah. Like I'm pretty excited to just get in and drive around this thing. It looks real nice.
So it's also worth noting that on the $79.99 MSRP, they also have the 3 asterisks footnote. And when you scroll down to see that, it says manufacturer's suggested retail price, actual price may vary. So maybe they don't know what it's going to cost still. Maybe they're just like, hey.
Yeah, but they have that on the Switch. They actually have that on the bundle and the hardware as well.
Yeah,
so like,
I think that's pretty standard boilerplate. I mean,
I think they're just worried more tariffs are coming.
That's very possible. That's entirely possible. And I don't know where I don't know where carts are manufactured. Of course, that doesn't affect digital.
Yeah.
Well, it shouldn't. But but here's the thing: they're going to charge the digital price and the cart. They're going to keep the cart price and the digital price the same. So the digital people pay tariffs, even if the cart people don't. Yeah,
and we've talked about on this very podcast like 2 months ago or something that I think Matt Piscatella, the analyst, was out there saying like, hey, like most physical games are manufactured in Mexico for North America right now. Like that's going to get hit by tariffs if the stuff goes into effect. Like physical games are going to suffer if tariffs go into effect.
Yeah.
Like the question occurred to me earlier. I was going to ask you guys, like, do you think they set all of their pricing for all of this stuff at the sort of maximal, like, okay, we're going to go as high as we can accounting for tariffs. And then if the tariffs cease to exist by June 5th, then all the better, we'll just make more money.
Worst case, the margins are even better.
Yeah. Right. Like that's what they've done here, right? Is like these are the tariffs are baked in prices. And then if we come out better than that, then great.
Welcome to the new normal, Brad.
Yeah, I guess so.
Apparently the carts are manufactured in Japan, but then they ship the carts and assemble the packaging in different regions.
Got it.
Like, I guess so, but then there's the bundle. I don't know. Like, I don't know. We'll see. Some of the other pricing, like Donkey Kong Bananza is $70.
Yes, that's a good name.
So that's probably the other big tentpole game they announced here. There's a few first party games. I mean, there's the Welcome Tour. There's a new Hyrule Warriors. There's what was that sort of basketball-esque game? I've got the name in front of me here. No, I don't. It was Dragon something.
Dragon Shoot? Something
Dragon
like
Drive.
Dragon Drive.
Or Drag Cross Drive, Drag X Drive,
I'm trying to think if there were any other first party games. There were not that
Kirby
many.
Air Riders.
Yeah,
yes, a new Kirby Air Ride directed by Masahiro Sakurai is coming out this year, which is a weird left field one, but Donkey Kong was the other like a big tentpole.
I mean, I kind of almost put Metroid Prime 4 in there. Like, it's kind of a I think we still have a date on it, but like
just this year sometime. I mean, I think with both all those graphics modes and the mouse control, you can argue pretty strongly that it is a pretty Switch 2 centric release. So sure,
it's going to be like God, what was the one from this Wii U to the Wii? Twilight
Zelda?
Princess.
Yeah, that was the inverted
GameCube
one. Was that
Wii.
the inverted one?
Yeah, Twilight Princess was the one that was literally like flipped.
Yeah.
Because most people are right-handed and they wanted Link's sword to be in the right hand for people waggling the Wii remote.
But Bonanza,
Donkey Kong Bananza,
that's a fantastic name.
Is one of the best dumb video game names I have ever heard.
Those idiots.
Like that debut, we got to the end of the stream and it was just like, all right, where's your one more thing? You've got to have one more first-party game, right? Like it's a little thin here, and it kind of looked like a Mario game at first. And then it was Donkey Kong, and I was like, I wanted a Mario game. And then he started like drilling down into the earth. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I don't need a new Mario if there is a Donkey Kong with destructible terrain.
Yeah, it's Donkey Kong faction, right? Like you're getting out there.
So, I mean, that's
people to Mars.
The red faction Donkey Kong jokes. I'm not going to say the crime that Vinny committed.
What did you do, Vinny?
Red faction gorilla.
Perfect.
It's red.
Done.
It just writes itself.
Put it
right
on the
there.
box.
I was not the only one apparently to have that immediate thought.
That looks pretty awesome. I have to say.
Yeah. It like when he punched through the wall, I was like, okay, fine, whatever. When he got to the part where he's spinning around and smashing up like the top layer of earth on this mountaintop, I was like, oh, that looks pretty good. That looks fun. I'll play this.
Yeah, I'm curious, like, looking at the footage, I'm curious how much you can destroy. Like, obviously, there's going to be, like, some platforms you can't break, but, like, it sure does look like you can kind of bust up most anything.
Like, are the ground holes, like, a fixed thing? Or can you go in the hole? Can you make a hole anywhere?
Like, can you do the game about digging a hole thing of I just want to dig the entire level out? Can I destroy can I dig the entire level?
There's a time their webpage for this is kind of horrible to navigate, but if you go about halfway down their game page and then go halfway to the right on their game page during the scroll, they have a time lapse of him destroying a mountain, which is pretty good.
Oh, wow.
He just is clobbering an entire mountain that looks very destructible. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of stuff that's not destructible, but it looks pretty breakable. I don't know.
Do you think Seth Rogen did the voices?
No,
I doubt it.
No, and I bet my question for this in the most destructible games is, yes, can you destroy the whole world? But also, how far down is the bedrock layer? Right, like how far do you let me go?
256 layers, Vinny. That's just how video games work.
we use the Minecraft standard.
Negative 256 bedrock.
Powers of 2.
Yeah,
8-bit numbers.
Derek Liu, who's a trailer editor, did a real good trailer thread on Blue Sky, and the one that he did for this, where he's like, "Hey, here's how they set the stage, and then here's how they introduced the new stuff, and then they showed you who the baddie was, and then they gave you some exciting stuff to see about the new mechanics at the end." Was real good. It was a real good breakdown.
Good breakdown.
That one's coming out in July. That's was it July, late July? 17th. So like 6 weeks after launch, or less than that, actually. So that's
window. That's legit.
Yes,
window.
that is absolutely classic launch window.
Yeah.
And the nice thing there is, I mean, that game looks cool, but like that still leaves room for a new 3D Mario to be on the way. If it's coming out in July, they absolutely could announce something for holiday or next year.
I'm kind of okay with them waiting. I was surprised that we didn't get a souped up version of Odyssey, honestly.
Well, Odyssey is on that list of getting an update that like will add some stuff. Like I bet Odyssey is like higher res, for example, because Odyssey has got some pretty pronounced aliasing.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty low res on the Switch one. So like Odyssey's getting a little minor touch up, but
yep. But like
they're very due. They're very due for a new 3D Mario.
Yeah, I'm fine with them like not like working out the launch kinks and then having the 3D Mario come out after they figured out some of this stuff, right?
Yeah. But
3D Mario $90. Oh, so again, this one MSRP $69.99.
Yeah, they've said flat out Donkey Kong is a $70 game. So like, I don't know.
Just adding to the confusion about because this is coming out after Mario Kart. This is we don't know.
It's weird. It's really weird.
I mean, look, this is crazy, but maybe they're looking at like how people actually play the games, and they're like, hey, the average playtime in Mario Kart World is like 250 hours. Maybe they finally gotten down to the idle thumbs dollars per hour metric that gamers have craved for decades.
Or maybe now maybe this Donkey Kong game is a budget game. Maybe this is now we're $70 for your budget title. Yeah. It's a
so like 70 is the new 50 is what you're saying?
Yeah, maybe
70 bananas.
50 was once the new 40.
Can we still buy two for $100, or is that going to be $150?
You will you have to basically buy 4 for every Switch you own. Yeah, it comes with a bundle now. There's no 2, only 4.
Yeah. That was kind of it for first party games. Like, I mean, I rattle off those others that they mentioned earlier. The that basketball game didn't really do much for me. Like, I'm not really looking for a competitive sports game on the Switch.
Yeah.
That
also
new
just like didn't have I didn't love the look of it. Like it was just like kind of like gray, muddy,
a little lifeless for sure. Yeah. Like that new Hyrule Warriors looks nice, but that series is not for me.
But don't you want to know how Zelda got sent back in time and had to figure out that the Hyrule Castle was destroyed before Tears of the Kingdom?
Avid follower of the overarching Zelda fiction over here. Definitely.
It's all covered
the most
in
impressive part for me.
Yeah, Hyrule Historia Volume 3. If you read pages 375 to the third appendix, it'll cover all of that, and you'll understand exactly what's going on in your Hyrule Legends game.
I don't think they put a date on that, did they? Or is that just later this year?
Their third-party stuff on their website just has a bunch of trailers when you click through. They don't have to learn more, so it's kind of hard to see unless I'm in the wrong place for it.
Pretty kind of a thin like first party launch lineup announced so far, though. I feel
it seems like one game a month for the first couple of months. I bet that I bet that Metroid or Kirby were supposed to be for August, and they're unsure.
Yeah, it's like if they were able to say like, hey, Mario Kart and Metroid at launch, that would be pretty damn strong. But Metroid's still floating.
Yeah, it's Mario Kart and Welcome Tour.
I'm excited to play Tears finally. I stopped playing it because like I just couldn't take it. So
actually, like if I hadn't even really thought about that, but yes, if you're putting me in the frame of mind to just treat Tears of the Kingdom like a Switch 2 launch game, that's great. But it's not great for people who have already played through Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, no.
And that's kind of like the story of the third-party launch line, or well, not even launch, but just kind of going forward through the end of the year. Like the third-party lineup is also great if you didn't play any of these games on other consoles. But it feels like you pretty much would need to be a person who only plays games on Nintendo platforms to be that type of person. Because it's like Civilization 7, Cyberpunk is coming, Fortnite. I mean, obviously Fortnite, Hitman. Hogwarts Legacy, Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess, last year's best game. Like Split Fiction is coming, Street Fighter 6, Yakuza 0. Like it's a good spread of Star Wars Outlaws actually got announced, which
fun
like
game.
that one's pretty notable because most of these are like cross-gen or last-gen games. Well, Hogwarts is also a current gen, but like Outlaws was a pretty obvious like, oh, this just came out on big consoles not a year ago, and here it is on a Switch 2, right?
And there's
like
Ubisoft.
We're back to getting current gen ports again, but those are all available at launch. Bravely Default remaster I mentioned. Like, you know, again, like it's a good spread of games, but a lot of those you have probably played elsewhere if you play games on other systems.
it was weird seeing Greg.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
Yes, Greg Kasavin has really, I mean, I think Hades did quite well on the Switch.
That would be my guess, yeah.
So it's not surprising for that to be a thing they're getting behind. What else we got? Final Fantasy VII Remake. Sorry.
It says it's coming first to console, which I thought was interesting. I expected like that to me is a different label than Haze is also coming to other consoles.
Yeah, I think that's how they did it last time. I think it was Switch 1 was the first console release of that game as well.
You could do some weird sync thing with your PC version, if I recall. So,
yeah, down the line, like some pretty big names. You know, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, Elden Ring is coming to the Switch 2.
EA Sports games and 2K Sports games both coming.
Yeah, like I guess I certainly don't follow Madden, but apparently this is the first time Madden's been on Nintendo in quite some time.
Yeah, it feels a little bit more like hey, maybe it's not like you buy a Switch 2 and other consoles. Maybe Nintendo's trying to be the console you buy.
Yeah,
maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, let's see what these editions are like. You know,
yeah,
when they hit.
Yeah, I mean the way they are overlapping the other consoles' release cycles at this point, like that won't last that long. I mean, we already have a PS5 Pro on the market, and like PS6 and next Xbox are not that far. Like, you know, this generation of Switch will still be relatively new when the actual next consoles come out. So.
Had that new Astroneer game been announced yet? Or was that the first time we saw that?
I'm pretty sure that was brand new. I'm not sure what to make of that. Starseeker Astroneer Expeditions is what that's called. That definitely looked less base building, more like screw around with your friends in a multiplayer, like alien world kind of situation to me. You tell me, but they didn't show like any of the classic Astroneer, like terrain busting up or mining and crafting building stuff.
Yeah, I'm watching the video. They show the little astronaut guys grabbing, like spraying water and doing like some resource collection stuff. But then there's a big monster that comes out and they seem to all have to deal with the monster.
Oh, this has a Steam page now, actually, too. This is so...
New game set within the Astroneer universe. Focus on... I mean, it kind of sounds like Astroneer.
Yeah, well, it says a focus on discovery, cooperative expeditions, and camaraderie. Work together with the entire crew of a space station to complete planet-wide objectives. Yeah,
I feel like No Man's Sky.
I mean, they explicitly say towards the bottom, this is not an Astroneer sequel or Astroneer 2.
Okay, that's pretty explicit then.
Astroneer will continue to live on with more updates and content for years to come. Will it? We cannot wait to share more details about the unique gameplay experience we are crafting for Starseeker.
Okay, yeah, so that sounds like a fairly different type of game, but that's cool.
Yeah.
What else do we have on the third-party list? I mean, there's a bunch of stuff. You know, the Tony Hawk 3 and 4 remake is on there.
Talk about the big one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was kind of saving that for last. Well, which big one? Because they announced a time frame for release for Hollow Knight Silksong.
That is
funny.
Wow,
really?
Yeah.
Which,
I missed that.
This year, they are saying that Silksong is finally going to be out in 2025.
I guess there were two weird stealth things here. That one, the Silksong drop, which they didn't even talk about, it was just in a montage.
It was literally in like 5 seconds in a sizzle reel.
And then they had that 007
Yes.
just
a
teaser there.
You had your kind of IO interactive. It was off the back of them saying like, hey, the Hitman trilogy is coming to Switch 2, which, like, to be clear, that's fucking awesome to have that whole thing in your pocket.
And then it's kind of like proof of life.
Yes, at the end of that, they were like, oh, by the way, our Bond game is still happening. We still don't have a name for it, but it's coming to Switch 2 as well.
That's right. So there's those two. But the From Software, oh my gosh, what are they doing for this?
They locked up a From Software exclusive that sure does look like a new Bloodborne in all but name.
Yeah.
It's called the Duskbloods.
It has blood in the name.
Let me re-Google translate this page really quick. Because it may not be exactly what you think. It's a multiplayer game.
Yeah.
That kind of was maybe somewhat evident from the footage they showed, but From has put up a page with some text in Japanese about this game, and this is Google translated, but it is, quote, a PvPvE based multiplayer game in which up to 8 players can fight each other and against enemies. Players become Twilight Bloodlines who have gained powers beyond those of humans through the power of their special blood, and throw themselves into a fierce battle for the first blood. It sounds like it is some kind of multiplayer first thing and not a stealth Bloodborne sequel exactly.
I like, the thing I couldn't get from the trailer is if it's just like arena battles where you go in and you fight bosses and stuff like that with your friends, or if it's a full Soulsy game that you can go out and instead of having to like summon people for specific fights, you can just go out with your friends and play a Souls game.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's kind of weird that From has got like 2 of these in progress at the same time, because that Elden Ring Night Rain is coming out in like 2 months. Not even like 6 weeks or something.
So you got Elden Ring Night Rain, and then you have this. So maybe there's a parallel development going on, because this is apparently Switch exclusive, at least for the locked up on there for the foreseeable future. They did not say available first or time limited. It said only available, right?
Yeah, it said available only on Nintendo Switch 2. So that seems like you
need that HD Rumble to play this game, guys.
I guess so.
It's the only way you can do it.
Yeah.
Apparently they're going to have more on April 4th. There's an interview going up about this game with Miyazaki. So more will be known shortly.
That was like a huge score. And then once it came out that it was a multiplayer game, I don't know if enthusiasm may have dropped a tiny bit.
I think, okay, you're right. But I think the bigger thing was once it came out that this wasn't Bloodborne or Bloodborne 2.
Yeah.
Like, this wasn't a Bloodborne-ish or a Bloodborne 2.
I think if it had been exactly the same kind of single player game and just all but name, I think people still would have flipped their shit over it, because
you're right.
Elden Ring kind of was that to Dark Souls, right? Like, Elden Ring is still very much kind of European medieval fantasy, and that went to the moon. So I think if this was Bloodborne 2
in all but name,
with the serial number filed off, I think it would be.
I mean, isn't that Lies of P? Isn't that
kind of
people love that game?
Yeah, they do.
I should check that out.
Yeah, it's slightly different, but it's definitely in that wheelhouse.
Human Fall Flat 2 was there. I don't know if that's been announced before. But
I missed that.
It has.
Yeah. Okay, I'm excited to see what that is. There's that Professor Layton and the New World of Steam.
Yeah,
I think
they announced that
date?
Yeah, that's been announced.
Ago. But
did I get a date?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Switch 2. It's on the more good stuff on the way section of the video games for the Switch 2 page.
Okay.
Along with Arcade Archives 2, Ridge Racer, and Fortnite.
Oh, Fortnite. I've heard of it. I don't know much about what's going on in Deltarune, but
I don't follow that stuff. I mean, people who love Undertale obviously are stoked. It sounds like they're getting the next 2 chapters exclusively first.
That's launch. That's
yes, that is a launch thing.
Tamagotchi Plaza, Nintendo Switch 2 edition.
Sure. There was
All
a
bangers.
Yakuza 0 director's cut. That's launch.
That's fun.
Yeah, they're getting some stuff.
Yeah, there's for sure stuff there.
Again, if you haven't played any of these games on other platforms, this is actually a pretty strong lineup.
Yeah.
But most of us have played most of these games. Civ 7, we should say, has mouse control, as it should. I don't like. Do I
weird,
really?
Man.
Do I want to play Civ 7 on a Switch? Not really, but I really want to see how those controls work out for the sake of other games. I mean, it actually reminds me of they just announced that finally the Battle Aces beta is coming back in a couple weeks.
There you go.
Like that. That's a free to play game. I wonder if they'll try to put something like that out on a Switch 2 when you've got, because there's no way that game is going to work on a controller. Like, I promise you, I have played enough of that. That game is StarCraft. But I wonder if the Switch 2 mouse is good enough to play like a hardcore RTS on or not.
That is a very good question.
Of course, without a keyboard, I mean, there's also a lot of keyboard shortcuts there you'd be giving up. So that's kind of a lot. But anyway.
Look, this is where the third Joy-Con comes into play. So you get the prong attachment that goes in the bottom of the Switch 2.
Yep.
You think so what happens, Will? You know Fortnite. So what does it show if you're playing on your Switch but with mouse controls? Does it show you as playing on a console, or does it show you as playing with a mouse?
So if you use hybrid controls, you show as using a controller right now.
Okay.
But you don't get auto aim if you use a mouse, is my understanding.
You think they'll turn it off for the Switch 2?
My bet is if you use the mouse on the Switch 2, you don't get auto aim, but it shows you as a Switch user.
I wonder if they'll know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a whole new world that this is coming to. Like previously, the Switch version of, I wonder. Well, I mean, obviously they're going to keep the performance mode around, the Switch renderer for Fortnite around for the foreseeable future, because there's a million kids that play on the Switch every month. But I wonder if this is the end of the perf renderer for Fortnite, because this looked like real Fortnite, not the Switch version.
There was
of Fortnite.
transparent water.
Yeah, you could see things. It didn't look like it was a game from like 2007. So
that's kind of it. Randy Pitchford showed up in full magician regalia.
What is going on with his hair?
It's
like he's starting to move into what looks like James Cameron's art hair era a little bit. If you remember that.
Don't
look. Hair's complicated, guys. It's, Randy's doing Randy stuff. I don't know, man.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, Borderlands 4 coming to the Switch too.
Yeah. Did any of you play Borderlands 3?
A few hours.
Okay.
I don't remember. I played Tales from the Borderland. I like that.
Yeah.
Hey, here's a dumb question. As we're talking about games, I was just looking at I didn't remember them showing this, but it's on their thing. Enter the Gungeon 2 with no release date.
Yeah.
I think we were having the stream. They were having some stream issues this morning. I think, granted, there were probably a lot of people watching that thing, but I think that happened while we were trying to fix the stream.
Okay, we were switching over to the UK version.
I had completely missed that, but that looks cool. I liked Enter the Gungeon, and this looks like that game was like 2D art, and this looks more 3D.
It's 3D. Yeah, they specifically said it's 3D now, and the boss that they showed was like a swarm of bullets in a kind of vase shape that you shot bullets off of, and that seemed to be removing health from the boss. It looked pretty good. It looked cool.
Yeah. So their release page for that has it for the Switch and the PC. Okay, so here's my dumb question. Obviously, seeing this is not just Enter the Gungeon, this is 3D and stuff like that. But what's our cutoff date for Switch releases? What do you think?
What's the release window?
Wait.
Is it release day and then we're done with making Switch games? Like if you're a third party, are you only putting out on Switch 2?
Oh no,
I think it's 2030.
Third parties will be shipping on Switch 1 for a while. That thing there are so many units out there.
Well, I guess Metroid we don't know the date on, so that even a first party will be out there. But you think we have a long tail on Switch?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say longer than the PS5 and Xbox did, like 2-3 years minimum, I would guess.
How about Nintendo? Metroid's the last one.
I bet every cross-gen Nintendo first-party game is already announced. I bet they will not announce more.
How it depends on how well it sells, right? Like the Wii U, there were some Wii cross-platform games that came out after you would have expected because they sold like 18 Wii U's.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but that was because that thing nobody bought those games. So, like the tail on old console game sales does run out at some point. So in their case, it's probably more important to start getting Switch 2 install base numbers up rather than to sell first party games to Switch 1 owners. So
you don't think we got like another Kirby announcement that's like a Switch 1, Switch 2?
Did
Air Riders say? I bet Air Riders is just a Switch 2 game.
2025.
It's right Switch
now.
2, yeah.
Yeah.
At least that's what's announced.
I would guess we will not get any more announcements from Nintendo itself of games that are for both.
Leighton is Switch and Switch 2 for whenever that comes out.
Yeah. Or there might be some like puzzle games and some smaller stuff like that. Absolutely, that does still get announced. But I mean like tentpole. Like Like the next Mario will absolutely be Switch 2 only.
But you think about it with the game share stuff that they're doing, where if you buy the game on the Switch 2, you can share it with your Switch 1s. Like there's an argument for some of those for making games for the Switch 1 still that will boost the adoption of the Switch 2 and reward people who've invested in the new hardware. I this is all really complicated now compared to the way it used to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think Nintendo's got what are they called? TSRs?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You think they have TSRs that say like anything released in this current cycle now has to be complete 100% compatible with Switch 2 if it's on the Switch 1? Like you're not going to get like Layton might have some problems after boot, you know?
Yeah.
My guess is that those games that have compatibility issues were compiled with real old versions of the SDK. And that they probably, if you're building something for like typically the console vendors say, hey, you have to after this such and such date, you can only use this version of the SDK or newer, right?
Yeah,
then there's a different requirements for signing and all that stuff. But my assumption would be that if you build a game that you're building with current SDKs, it probably is fine.
Yeah, I bet that's what it is. I bet in practice everything will work just naturally downstream of development stuff. But it doesn't feel like a Nintendo thing to go out and mandate to developers, hey, you have to do it this way, the way that Microsoft or Sony would.
Sure. Well, I mean, and that's as of this time right now, which is Wednesday around 3:30 Eastern time. That's about literally stuff was coming out as we were on break and like new information was popping. So more stuff. There was like battery story about the battery life just dropped.
Nintendo put up a specs page. They said 2.5 to 6 hours of battery life, which I think is about in line with what they said about the first one.
So probably a beefier battery, but it gets chewed up about the same with the power demands.
And they specifically say, hey, different games are going to have different battery draw, which we all know now. The AC adapter is $30 basically.
Oh,
really?
I wonder if it's just USB-C brick though. I wonder if you can use any USB-C.
Well, yeah, I mean the old one used one very specific PD profile that nobody supported at the time that it came out, and then later on everybody supported. I wonder if they'll fix that this go round. It's a more universal thing.
One thing we didn't mention is the Japan only region locked Japanese language locked Switch that is dramatically cheaper.
Yeah, like again, we can speculate as to why, but that is pretty for multiple reasons. A, the price is the first thing, and B, a region locked console just we haven't had them in a while.
Yeah, that's not been a thing for pushing 15 years now, but there's a SKU coming out in Japan only that is only $330 by current exchange rates, but it is Japanese language only and it is region locked to Japanese releases only, and that's, as far as we know, the only territory they're doing that in. They're still going to sell the multi-region unlocked Switch in Japan, but it's going to be $200 more.
Right. I mean, so in parallel, right? Like they have these two SKUs.
Yeah, I assume this is all mostly due to tariff chaos and things of that nature.
The yen is so weak right now. I wonder if they were worried that they weren't going to sell any in Japan. If they saw,
I don't know.
Like it was going to be the equivalent of the PS3 coming out at $600 in the US, and they thought, hey, this is our home market, we have to support it.
Yeah, like I'm trying to suss that out, because typically we've seen prices go up in Japan as the yen has weakened, but in this case, if it's region locked and you can guarantee they're only going to buy games in the home territory, maybe they make it up on game sales somehow.
I'm pulling this out of my ass, but like, could it be subsidized somewhere from Japan to help out the industry?
I doubt it, but I certainly don't know.
Because it is a weird one to see it cheaper, right? Like with a weak dollar or yen. I don't know. It's like, is that going to be? Are collectors going to be out there getting like, well, I have to have the Japanese only one because there's this, something we don't even know about, a digital only Japanese release that comes out on the eShop that isn't available worldwide and could only look. I don't know. Like, it hasn't been that way for a while since I remember you guys and all your silliness going out and getting like Japanese Xboxes. So you can hook them up to the.
Hey, look, man! Don't lump me in with those lunatics. I never bought a Japanese Xbox.
You didn't want Blaze Blue or a Blue Dragoon, whatever it was running.
I was not. I was not nearly that sick.
So it's been a while, but I assume all the stuff that is coming out on those stores you can get on the worldwide.
Yeah, I would assume any global region unlocked Switch could get games from the Japanese store or run the Japanese games as well.
So
Can I?
It's a weird situation.
yeah.
I also think it's really weird that this time, so they have the normal carrying case that's like you put it in when you want to put it in your carry-on bag so it doesn't get all scratched up or whatever. But this time they also have a carrying case that fits the dock and the power brick and all the other business too.
Oh.
It's like a little briefcase guy. It's like square cubic.
Looks
Wait.
like a GameCube.
Oh wait, so they actually announced carrying. This is an extremely important and personal decision. I always put a lot of thought in my carrying case.
Well,
It's
like I want
$80 for the big one.
Yeah. I want, and it looks like you have to take the Joy-Cons off to fit it because it looks like it's too square to fit the full length.
What does RDS Industries have for me? Because I am the kind of person who knows since probably the late DS or early 3DS period. I've always bought the RDS carrying case because they're really nice.
Interesting.
Like I've got the RDS Switch case. I mean, it's just a nice hard shell Switch case. It's nothing like super crazy, but they make good, reliable Nintendo carrying cases.
They make the ones I have. I also bought a grip from them that they sold through Target.
Do they have do you guys put screen protectors on your Switches?
I do.
I did on the Switch because the dock was prone to scratching the screen cover.
I put a little like felt on my dock.
That might be a better way to go actually this time.
I didn't, and my Switch screen is all scratched up, so both my daughter's and wife's Switches have screen protectors now, and this will get one too.
Looks like JS Aux, if you're familiar with them, they're like a very common, if you buy HDMI cables on Amazon brand, they've got a Switch 2 carrying case up for pre-order, so I guess like accessory makers are like going hard right now.
I wish that they had made it Switch no space 2 instead of Switch space 2, just so it's easier to search.
I know.
Don't even get me started on that like Q&A they put up with some of the Nintendo creatives about the naming.
Oh no!
They actually said they considered Super Nintendo Switch.
And it was the reasoning is like, what was it? It
was incredible. It was like, well, the Super Nintendo was not backwards compatible with the regular Nintendo, and this console is, and so we didn't want to send the wrong impression.
Bullshit, man! Just stop.
Come on, like, just look, Switch 2 is the most like laser targeted like marketing vehicle for getting this thing into people's hands. Like, just let's be real.
Well, because they're also like in that quote somewhere in there. I'm paraphrasing immensely, but they're like, "This is a whole new console. We wanted to make sure that people understood that this is a whole its own thing." And be like, "You called it the Switch 2." Like, you're already muddying the waters here.
Let's just be honest here. Wii U was a historic disaster for you, and you know that. And this is the absolute best way to just say, "Hey, this is a linear improvement over the Switch 1."
Yeah,
that's right. But Super Nintendo Switch, sorry, not the SS, the SNS would be okay.
I'm excited that it looks like this dock is going to work with grips, so you don't have to take the grips off when you put it in the dock.
You don't have to take the grips off now.
My grips have to come off to fit in the dock.
You mean third-party grips?
No, I mean I have third-party grips that make it so that it's like it fits human hands instead.
I thought you meant Joy-Cons.
Yeah,
sorry.
no.
Okay, is it because it's got like a big wide chunky?
It's got a wide slot.
It's got a wide slot. Yep.
The dock, it's a wider slot than previously.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of it for the stuff we have, right? Like, that's the Switch 2. It's 2 months away, 2.5 months away.
I mean, that maybe the most quietly exciting thing about it is like we don't have to wait much longer. It's almost here, which is great.
Well, we'll see what availability is like. I have pushed I am interested in your Switch 2 product on the Nintendo page. We'll see what the channel looks like when these things start shipping, when pre-orders go up, which I have not seen an actual somebody taking money for this yet. I'm sure they are probably out there now, but
I don't typically pre-order, but I might go ahead and put one in for this just to be safe because it's possible. But like all the talk at analyst circles the last few months has been that they are going to launch with a ton of these on the market. Okay. That was supposedly a big part of the delay from last year, because they had supposedly intended to launch this thing last fall, and part of it was they wanted more time to produce more units to have ready for launch.
So
I hope so.
Best Buy is saying they're doing pre-orders on the 9th, and you'll be able to pick it up at a late night store opening on 6/5 at 12:01 a.m. Eastern time.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I hope the availability is not. I mean, the Switch was really tough, right? At launch, that was one of the rough
Extremely.
ones.
I didn't get one for like 6 months after launch. It was like it was very much a process of like hovering over stock pages, and like I ended up taking off from the office at like 4:00 one day because the GameStop at Stonestown had gotten some in, and I was like, I'm out. I'm going to get a Switch. It's been 6 months.
The food trucks, remember those? The Switch trucks that would drive around, and you had to like grab those.
I forgot about that. I just walked into Target the morning that they went on sale by accident, and there was one there. It was the gray one though, so nobody wanted it.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
I bought a gray one.
All right, let's we'll kind of wrap up the Switch 2 stuff a bit. I want to ask you guys, if you weren't covering the games industry, you're not too deep in it, and it's a launch product, say you can't get one, what do you think? Like, don't stress too much. Like, I mean, like, unless you're way into Mario Kart Worlds.
Like, you're not, again, unless you're this hypothetical person that has never played any of these third-party games on other platforms, which is, like, probably not that many people these days. Like, there's maybe a decent number, but, like...
But even if all those aren't launch.
Right. Like, if all you're interested in are the Nintendo first-party games, like, if you don't get one for 3 months, like, are you going to die? No.
Realistically, like, I play Mario Kart all the time, and the people I play Mario Kart with aren't going to be waiting up at midnight to buy Switch 2s. So I'm going to be playing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for a fairly long time now. So I'm like, this is, if this comes at Christmas, I'm fine.
Like Mario Kart being the launch game, people are going to be playing Mario Kart for the duration of the Switch 2, you know?
Like you guys all have family that have Switch, and I'm sure you get questions from people because they know you're around games that are like, you know, what about the Switch? What about the Switch? Somebody's going to come to you, a parent comes to you and says, my kid is asking for a Switch 2. It's $450. What's the deal? Should I get one? Like, do I need to get one? What are you telling them at this point in June?
Yeah, my personal advice probably to hold off for a little bit. Well, but I mean, I guess it depends on what you're holding off for, because is there going to be a price drop? No. Like,
no, man.
Nintendo doesn't roll that way.
Well, like, should I be sleeping at a Target?
Right. Are you waiting for more games? Then that's maybe a good reason to wait.
Or like, or I guess more realistically, like, hey, I saw some places selling them for $550 or something like that. Would you be like, don't? Like, they'll come back in stock.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
don't pay scalper prices.
This is just me. I would never recommend paying scalper prices for much of anything, personally.
Look, the answer for this isn't wait for the Switch 2 or whatever. The answer is, if you want your kid to be the cool kid, then you got to get him a PlayStation 5 and like Monster Hunter and Call of Duty and
Helldivers.
Which I don't know, wasn't it I think it was the Netflix CEO or Netflix head of games recently that like literally said like 8-year-olds are not excited about the PlayStation 6, I think was the quote. Like 8-year-olds are not looking forward to the PS6. Like kids in that age bracket like don't care about consoles anymore.
It's like the thing my daughter cares about, and sample size of 1, but most of her friends don't even play these kinds of games at all, is she plays Sims. So like, hey, can I have some Steam bucks to buy a new Sims pack when they're on sale? It's very exciting. She just started playing the Spider-Man 2 game. She was playing that, and this is the only time I've ever seen her engage with a story-based game. So it's like I don't think any of these consoles register for kids these days.
Yeah, maybe not.
You know what I didn't see on here, which will definitely be on here. There was no Roblox shown on here.
I don't think Roblox isn't on Switch. No.
Yeah, I mean, I think not? No, or it's not on any console.
It's on PlayStation.
Is it really?
I believe. Yeah.
God, that seems like a moderation nightmare.
Wait, I thought it was on Xbox. Is it not on Xbox? I thought I had to like link an account on my Xbox to try Roblox. I think it was or is.
How to play Roblox on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, no, Roblox is totally playable on Xbox. I did not realize that.
They just want that store, you're saying? They want all that money from their
they're not games. Roblox. They're experiences. Okay.
Yeah, it's from those experiences.
Yeah. How do we rate this? Like just as an announcement, I feel like
It's weird that there was no Mario talk aside from hey, Odyssey's going to get a little update.
I mean, I looking at the nature of Donkey Kong, I can kind of see why you don't just roll out 2 brand new 3D platformers on top of each other. Like, it does make sense to space those things out a little bit. But like,
and it's July for Donkey Kong.
Yeah, and Donkey Kong will be out soon, so they can move on to a Mario whenever that's ready. But like, I feel like I feel like we could have used one more like big tentpole first party announcements. Not necessarily for launch, but just like, hey, here's another game we're working on.
I'm with you. Yeah.
Well,
like,
and they didn't have a whole lot that uses like the new the Joy-Con stuff. The wheels, or what is it? The drag and draw, drag and shoot, drag and drop.
I forgot the name already. Again, drag and
Drag and drive.
Drag and drive.
Or drag cross drive. I said this on the stream. Like that really feels like the Switch 2's arms, which is just this like, kind of like weird offbeat, like sports-esque. Not as a burn, but I mean it's like this kind of like slightly strange, quirky, sportsy, competitive game that will come out at launch and then probably not get a lot of attention.
And like make use of the hardware.
Yeah. I'm just there's no 1-2 switch unless that's what that tour is though.
Yeah, but that thing is absolutely not in the same ballpark of like an actual game. I mean, even 1-2 Switch is pretty thin, but still it's more of a game than that looks to be.
Like 1-2 Switch was fun. It wasn't like I don't ever long to go back and play 1-2 Switch, but it was a good time was had.
I think July is a much stronger month for this console.
Yeah.
Like you have the Jamboree, the what is that? Sorry, Mario Party Jamboree
Mario
stuff
Party,
is coming out around then.
Is that not at launch?
No, that's end of July.
Did they put dates on all of the Switch 2 edition stuff?
The Zelda stuff is launch. The Jamboree is July.
Okay.
But you'll have the Donkey Kong. You'll have that if you're into the Mario, if you're into the first party stuff, I think July is a lot stronger. But I'm with you. I could have used one more big like, oh shit, because there are a lot of features here that I said this during the stream, and this is a me thing, kind of just how I use the Switch, that are based around using this as a handheld that are, exciting. I just don't use it as a hand. It stays docked.
I super don't either. Like just as a personal preference, I don't love handheld, but I kind of am wondering if this is maybe going to make me want to play in handheld a little bit more. Like I'm not going to lie, like at my age, like my eyes are not in the best shape, or they're like I'm experiencing some amount of visual decline, and like there have been points where I got progressive lenses, which has helped, but like the size of the Switch screen has become a bit of a problem for me. So like a bigger, higher resolution screen is very welcome. Also, the 40 hertz stuff, if they're able to squeeze way better looking visuals at a good performance in handheld mode out of this thing, like I could maybe see a world where I'm more interested in playing handheld, at least traveling. If not, I'm never going to play it on my couch with my giant TV sitting there in front of me, turned off. Like you're always going to opt for the big screen if possible, but like at least traveling, it might be more of an appealing handheld device than the first one was.
Get that good case.
Yeah, you know what we didn't talk about at all? Zelda.
Oh,
God, yes.
The GameCube stuff.
Well, yeah, I think we mentioned the GameCube games are coming to Nintendo Switch Online, but yeah, you're right. We didn't. I mean, I said this during the stream. The fuck are they doing? Wind Waker HD is over a decade old, and they never brought it to Switch. And now they're putting regular Wind Waker, which again, it's like regular Wind Waker is great. I think there are some things people prefer about it over the HD one, but to never bring Wind Waker HD to any version of the Switch and then just put the original on your online service is kind of weird. Like, why was Skyward Sword the one that got the remaster?
Is it really not the changes that are in the HD remaster coming to it's the old school one with the terrible back half?
Yeah, they haven't come out and said it, but all the games on Nintendo Switch Online are just the original games.
It's just ROMs. Okay.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot that Wind Waker HD like dramatically improved the Triforce Hunt stuff at the end of the game. Maybe they'll still put it out. I don't know. It seems weird that whatever.
They should.
Yeah, they really should. They really should. And Twilight Princess, they never brought Twilight Princess out natively on Switch either.
Yeah.
And is that has that been confirmed anywhere for not being Switch compatible? The GameCube stuff.
I don't think
we
so.
Kind of assumed it would just be on the Switch too.
I'm assuming it's a horsepower thing. I'm guessing that GameCube emulation is probably a little much for the original Switch to handle.
So yeah, for me, I'll get over this as more games come out. But for me, some of the stuff I'm looking forward to is almost this like a Switch Pro. Seeing Breath of the Wild run better, seeing Tears of the Kingdom run better in HDR and at a higher resolution, better frame rate. That Mario Kart stuff is super cool, and I understand that's not something you could probably do on the Switch, but I think initially, if I get this at launch, that's probably what I'm going to boot up and check out, are some of those older games that I want to see running better. I'm actually very excited for Metroid Prime.
Yeah, me too.
Whenever that comes out.
I wouldn't be shocked if that's like end of the year at this point, though, or pretty close to it. So yeah, like a big part of your first party launch lineup is playing those older games.
Which is fine. It's is it $450 fine?
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Like I'm going to buy the console regardless.
Yeah.
That's just where I am.
Right. Like I'm going to get it at launch because it's my job and I need to play it to know what it is. Yeah. But like, would I, if I did not have this job, would I rush out to get it on day one just to play Mario Kart?
I would.
And these up-reses? No, I probably would not.
I think I would just wait until I didn't have to work too hard to get it and I had the extra cash, right?
Yeah. Like especially if there's like, if they do announce something like a 3D Mario for holiday or some other first party game for later in the year, like, at that point, I'd be like, okay, now I got to get one of these things. But
this is 100%. You're walking through Target and you're, but they have them. I'll grab one. Might as well get one while it's here, right?
Yeah, I feel like as an announcement, if they had one more first party game, and I don't know what I want because I don't know what else there is. Like, way too soon for new Zelda. It's too soon for new Animal Crossing.
It's never too soon for a new Animal Crossing.
Kirby's not a huge deal. You know, it's cool, but it's whatever. Like, you know, Pikmin is kind of on the back burner. Like, I don't even know what other franchise I would want to see come back, but still, it felt like one more new game announcement, or if they had come out and said like, "Hey, Metroid Prime is a launch game," like if they had been able to say, "Hey, like Mario Kart and Metroid at launch," that would be pretty strong.
I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to do that, just because I like they don't want to cannibalize sales. Like they know they're going to sell. Their attach rate is 1 for Mario Kart, right? And they're just coming out of the gate with a bundle that chucks it in for $50 extra and knocks $30 off of the retail price. So you're going to FOMO that and everybody's going to buy the bundle with the Mario Kart if they can find it. I can't imagine rolling out Metroid Prime when they're charging more for games. They're going to wait a few months so you can be good. So you have time to be excited about a new game.
And we'll see what happens with third-party announcements. I mean, there's a bunch more on the way, and there's actually a bunch more announcements happening. Treehouse stuff is happening. More third-party development stuff is happening. So we'll see after this podcast. But, Will and Brad, let's take a break here, and let's do kind of the wrap-up of the show. Any other games we want to talk about or anything else quickly here, because I feel like the longer we talk about Switch 2 stuff, the more information that comes out about Switch 2 stuff, the more we have to go back and correct ourselves about Switch 2 stuff.
We need footnotes.
We need footnotes.
Let's end this thing before we can be wrong about anything.
That's right. All right, so let's take a break here, and then we're going to come back. We're going to wrap this show up with some miscellaneous things we've been doing. Stick around. All right, we are back, and everything's changed. The Switch 2 is now free. There's
I have one right now. It showed up during the break.
I've registered intent.
That's right. We're all registered intenders for buying our Switch 2. We're going to move on to some other stuff here. Look, if you were going to announce your horrible news thing that you did, probably today would be the day to do it. If you just announced that we fired half our staff and it's going to be replaced by AI, and the AI told us to even fire more people. Now is the day, because the news cycle is just flooded with Switch news.
Hey man, we put all our female characters up on WikiFeed. I don't know. I think that's fine, right?
That's right. It's not getting any traction in the news cycle, though.
Yeah, weird.
Let's talk about a few other games that we've been playing. Will, you said you have dipped into Atomfall.
I played like 2 hours of Atomfall, and I mostly played it on the Stream Deck stream from the PC. But yeah, that game is really cool. It's got it's open worldy. It's an open world survival crafting game that feels like it's more of an RPG than most of those games are. And like I kind of am getting Far Cry 2 vibes off of it. If that's okay, if that's anything.
Yeah.
Brad, you played some, right?
Yeah, I played a couple hours.
We talked about it last week.
Yeah, I had thought kind of Fallout, but yeah, like there's definitely some Far Cry to this.
Like, there's no like lighting stuff on fire. Okay, I haven't gotten to the point yet that I can light stuff on fire and use that to do my dirty deeds. But it's definitely like walking around and meeting people and occasionally shooting people, but often the shooting is not the right approach. And it seems kind of undirected for one of those games. Like,
yeah, it really does.
Yeah, like I have multiple objectives and it's unclear to me which is the main one, in a way that like often that's frustrating for me, but it kind of works here.
I didn't think to point that out when I talked about it last time, but yeah, like by the time you get out of the intro area and you're just kind of out in the world, you've got like kind of 3 main quests, and any one of them feels like it could be like the main story quest, and it does not in any way say, hey, this is the one you should be doing to move the story forward. It's just kind of like, pick one and go.
Here's some stuff to do, man.
Yeah.
The other thing that I love, like absolutely blew me away, is they hired a bunch of British voice actors for it, and it's like it's the best British accents I've seen outside of like EastEnders.
It's the most British game I have played in some time.
Wait a second, you played Thank Goodness You're Here, okay? So
it's up there.
Really? Wow.
Very, very, very broad definition of British, because like some of these voice actors are Scottish and stuff. It's more of a broader UK kind of thing, I guess. But
I feel like Thank Goodness You're Here. They softened the accents for the worldwide market. I don't think that Rebellion has done any. Like they were like, no, get yeah, we want to hear like you want to hear somebody from Birmingham. Just really lay in there.
Like talk to me like you talk to your friends at the pub. Like give me
like
that.
There are words in here I am not. There are English speakers using words I am unfamiliar with in this game.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's
but
pretty
gameplay
good.
Wise, crafty survival.
Yeah, it's like Vinny. Hoarding is discouraged. Like your inventory space is relatively limited. It's like I think when you start, you have like 4 long slots and 8 small slots. Like long slots are like rifles and shotguns and bats and stuff like that. It seems very tuned for things you might find in the UK in terms of like shotguns are kind of the biggest gun I've found. I actually don't think I found a rifle yet. It's like pistols and shotguns and stuff. They have gun laws there.
Have you found anything with the metal detector yet?
Yeah.
Really? I have not.
So when you get near a metal detector spot, well, first off, there's some side quests that you get by talking to people that will say, "Hey, go to this general vicinity."
I see. Okay.
But it's a lot about world traversal, right? So there's no the world is relatively small. It doesn't take long to get anywhere. So they don't have fast travel and stuff like that. And they don't like put a mark on your map for when you get here's a buried lockbox location. So it's just like, hey, it's near town out by the garden. By Billy's garden, and then when you get there, it says, "Hey, you might want to whip out your metal detector because there's probably something here."
Yeah, it is a smaller game. Like it's not open world in the way that like Assassin's Creed is open world, where the map seems impossibly huge and there are generic icons for the same 5 activities everywhere. Like the whole game feels hand built. Like everything feels like it was built by humans and not auto generated, and every little bit seems unique that I've seen so far.
It like the quests. I haven't had dupe quests yet. Like there's not a bunch of FedEx quests. There's like, hey, I need help with something kind of stuff, but it's more, everything feels bespoke in a way that is unusual for this kind of game, and is definitely outside the Ubisoft mold for sure.
I should check it out. I've got a couple of things that I played. I'm working through here. Atomfall it's on my radar. Might be a little later in the year one. The next break.
It looks really pretty too. It's like it's a good looking one of those. So well, I'm going to switch gears, and I was just going to say, we're going on break next week, and I was hoping to maybe finish up Assassin's Creed. Oof. Now, I'm about 45 hours in. Oof. I've assassinated 2 or 3 of the main targets.
Okay.
I have killed so many other fuckers in that game. I have murdered 3/4 of Japan in that game.
Every daisho on the map, because each one has a skill point for you.
I am murdering. So it's fun. I like this game a lot, and I'm maybe getting a little tired of some of it, but I still wind up in places where I'm going around doing my thing, just murdering my way through a castle, whatever. And then I'll murder a thing, and I'll go look at my objectives menu, and a new circle will just open up and be like, "Oh, one of those dudes you murdered, they were part of another thing you didn't even know about."
That happened to me for the first time over the weekend, and I was like, what the fuck? I killed I believe it was a kabuki mono.
Oh, okay.
Which is like one of the really colorful samurai.
Yeah.
And his
you mean
kid comes for you or something?
What's that?
And then his kid comes for you or something?
No, I don't think so. Nothing that I've seen. Oh, you meant a new circle on the objective board. Not on the
objective
map.
Board, yeah.
That happened. That exact thing happened to me too, and it was in oh my gosh, I'm forgetting all the names now. The coastal town, the first coastal town you go to with the firearms district.
I've forgotten everything.
And anyway, it was just a little random location that has like a wealth high low rating on it. I was like, I'm just gonna go raid all the resources here. one of the enemies populating that place was apparently this target from a quest I have yet to encounter yet,
and
I killed him
into it. Yeah,
and it like. You know what it looks like. You get this full screen treatment of where it goes to this like parchment paper looking motif, and it's all dramatic when you kill him. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And then yes, it cuts back to your objective board, and it's literally the phrasing is something like a target from a ring, from a circle you have not encountered yet has died, or something.
Or like this
that.
person could be interesting. They seem to be part of a bigger organization.
So my immediate assumption was like, was this guy a Templar? Like, is this how they're going to introduce the larger Assassin's Creed universe conflict by saying, hey, some of these Ronin are actually Templar in hiding or something? But like,
I think you just stumbled into a like side door on a quest, which I appreciate that they're there.
It's kind of cool that can happen. It's also a little disorienting though.
It's so the worst one I had was, this has happened to me a couple of times now where I've just like been murdering, but sometimes maybe that's how you pick them up. I don't know. You could also occasionally there'll be people in towns where you do that like L2 look, and they'll be like, hey, come here, and then like talk to me and be like, there's this group of people who are going around and doing a thing, and here are some breadcrumbs to get to the locations. But more often than not, I wind up killing somebody just the way you just described, getting a new circle on my objective board, and then be like, all right, I'll go check this out. The worst one I had was got that, killed a person. It was like, found a note on them that's like, my dad's over here or something. Was like, all right, well, it said, go assassinate the father of this thing. Kill him. Then I'm just swinging that thing around with the chain just because people, and it popped off like 3 more of those things like, bwop. It's like, you killed a son, bwop, you killed another son. Like, who the hell are you guys? It did it like 3 times in a row. And I was like, I just murdered this whole family. I don't really know what happened. And then I went and I talked to, this is the only time I have saves come in this game. I went and I talked to like, I got another note that was like, that the daughter needs to be killed too. But the note on the daughter was like, go assassinate the daughter was the headline on it. Then I was like, the daughter feels like she can find a new life outside of this terrible family. I was like, that doesn't sound like a kill you kind of quest to me. And I went and I talked to her, and she's like, oh, thanks for talking to me. If you could just kill my father, that'd be great. And also just don't kill my brother. And I was like, oh.
Bad news for you.
Oh. So in the game, if you get the mission that's like, hey, assassinate the daughter, she's part of this ring, whatever, and then you assassinate her, you'll get like more text, right? Have you noticed that? You'll get more like she was unwilling to change her ways and whatever. But you can spare people as well and be like, oh, okay. So I went back and I saved some, and I went back and I talked to a person first, and they were like, please don't kill me. I was like, oh, all right. Okay. And then I went back and I killed the whole family again. But very funny. And it's happened to me multiple times where I'm just swinging my freaking thing around again. There goes now we're just murdering people in an entire town and be like, I don't know, you're part of a quest or not. I'm not sure, because really I'm here to get the loot and then get my mastery points and get out of here. And if you are just collateral damage, side quest or not, I'm sorry. It's fun. It's fun.
It kind of sounds like some Crusade. I haven't played any of this because I've been kind of off those games for a while, but it sounds like some Crusader Kings business almost.
I have not played Crusader Kings, so I'm not sure. Is it, again, just a thing you stumble into side door quests? No,
like in Crusader Kings, you have to like wipe out entire families if you want to really, save your
you mean like more problems. Of the political machinations. Well, we watched Alex play.
Okay.
Yeah. I think, what was it, 3 or I can't remember which one.
I forget which one.
Yeah, like you're basically telling a story, right? That just there's game mechanics attached to. Is this a good one of those? Like I haven't played one of these since like Black Flag, probably.
Yes. I think a lot will hinge on like how much do you want to buy into the ninja fantasy? Do you want to play as a ninja who's just like going around doing ninja stuff?
I 100%ed Ghost of Tsushima, which is a samurai game. I realize.
Yeah, this is much more ninja to that game's samurai for sure.
I mean, you could do some samurai for sure.
Okay.
But the ninja stuff is really, because you could play as Yasuke, who's a samurai later on in the game, but it's very ninja fantasy.
Do you kind of switch characters as you go through the story?
Yeah. No, you actually switch characters at will at some point. Oh. You just unlock the other character, and you can just play as whichever one you want. And he's just a tank. But I'm still enjoying it. That map is so big.
It's huge. Like I still really like the game. I'm going to continue playing it, but my biggest issue with it is becoming more acute from what I talked about last week, which is that I just think the open world, for as amazingly beautiful and detailed as it is incredibly underutilized from a gameplay standpoint. Like maybe you get to more open areas later that are easier to just kind of run across fields and stuff, but like the early parts of the game are just not much fun to navigate because it's so many. It's like you have to stick to the roads basically because it's so many like tight mountain passes. Like if you can run off the road at all, because a lot of times there's just like mountains or foliage to the point that you literally just can't. Like it takes forever to get anywhere. There's nothing to find in between the icons. Like there's next to nothing to do in that open world beyond the quests they have laid out by icon for you.
Yeah.
And there's just not, it's like they failed to take any of the lessons of open world games from the last decade that are of like, hey, make the world more fun to explore, like make the sight lines such that you can just find things and go do them. Like make it feel more rewarding to roam around. Like there's just kind of none of that for me.
I agree with you. I haven't had too many problems with the traversal. Like I'll just duck into the woods and use the horse a lot to scale those unscalable mountains, but it is clumsy, right? You're bouncing off of trees and
yes,
you can't see. You're sliding a lot, and it is a pain in the butt to get places, especially when you're like, I haven't done that is so far away, and I have no fast travel points between here and there. And am I just gonna? Do I breadcrumb the fast travel points as I go, or do I just go to the area? There's actually one place that is really rough. I forget the name of the bay, but it's a bunch of water, and you can do boats in the game, like these little skiffs. And that place was kind of a pain to navigate because you don't want to swim these long distances. They're kind of rough, but you do get a decent amount of fast travel points. My problem with the fast travel is they let you do the guild fast travel. You can unlock them. You pay like a couple hundred gold or mon, and you can unlock them. But they're usually not that far away from a tower that you can fast travel to, so they don't feel was it the Cucaramanga?
Kakudega, I believe.
Kakudega. They don't feel as special because it's like, there's like a fast travel thing already in this town. Yes. This isn't that great. But if they let you, if they let you have a certain amount that you could plant or do, or like be like, oh, I could really use one here, that would be awesome. That would be so much more meaningful to me in navigating that world. I just sometimes I'm like, I'm not going there. Like, I'm just not going to go get this thing. I'll wait for the story to kick in there or something. That's 100%. Just too damn far away.
100% had that exact same experience. And like, even a lot of the fast travel ones, like even once you fast travel to the place, it still takes longer than you want just to like, oh, you're up on top of a tree. You got to jump down from the tree, swim across the thing, pick your way down this mountain path, and then run for 2 minutes to get to the thing you want to get to. It's just like, it just takes a little too long to get anywhere. Like there's just so much tension to me between how amazing that world looks and how not enjoyable it is to navigate and roam around in.
So a thing they got rid of, so they have the pathfinding or show the path, right? For when you're on the horse, the stick on the roads, right? If you're on the horse, it'll be like, okay, I'm going to draw a line for you to your objective that you've picked. And I use that here and there to be like, I just want to get there without having to, like you just said, deal with running through the woods, right? Just show me the way. They used to have a thing that was like, I think it was Assassin's Creed, it could be thinking Witcher, where it would just autopilot you if you're on the roads. It would just stick, the horse would just stick on the roads and it would just follow the path it had and just go. Is that Witcher?
That was in Origins.
Was it?
Oh, is that in Origins?
I think Witcher does it too, maybe. I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure Witcher has auto follow the road.
It feels missing here because of like what you said, like where you're like, there's long expanses of nothing. I don't have to get off the horse to do something. I'm not really getting attacked that much. This would be nice if I could just autopilot the horse and just kind of chill out for whatever the 3 minutes, maybe 2 minutes that it's going to take to get there.
Do they have like random encounters on the road? You've hit bandits and stuff like that, or not really?
Yeah.
I mean, like, Vinny's way deeper than I am. Maybe this changes, but there's like two types of random encounters that are kind of the same type. It's basically just a couple bandits holding somebody hostage and you can kill them and then that person will give you some information, but that's about it.
They have more stuff of like some side activities, like you see an animal you want to paint, you want to jump off the horse and go get it, or you might pop
do you
a thing
apply
up
the
on your
paint to the animal, or do you paint a picture
No,
of
you
the
paint,
animal?
like you do a little like
Okay.
I think is the name of the little illustration.
No,
You're not graffitiing
no.
pigs or something. Okay.
Or like something will pop up on your map. Usually it's a question mark that you get close enough to, and you're like, oh, I'll go do that that dungeon or a tomb or something. And you pop off the horse, but the question marks are usually telegraphed pretty far in advance, so you know when they're coming up on them. Yeah, the navigation, it's almost too big.
I'm really starting to wish the game was half or maybe even a third the size that it is by map, but with more to do and more enjoyable exploration, traversal.
So I played a fair amount of Valhalla when that came out, or no, the Greek one, the one with the two characters, Odyssey. And like I got to a point like 25 hours in where I was like, oh, I should be getting close to the end of the game. Yeah. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, I've done the first 2 stages of a 35 stage quest. And I was like, I'm never like, if there was an option for me to pay the same amount of money for a 20-hour version of that game, I would 100% do that. Yeah, but I'm just not capable of not doing all the side stuff and spending 150 hours playing this game.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird how outdated the world design feels to me, because I got kind of interested in the sort of provenance of these recent Assassin's Creed games and started looking at developers. And so this game was made by Ubisoft Quebec. Montreal was the first Assassin's Creed studio, and then Quebec.
Yeah,
I mean, they have a million sports studios, but like, the main studio listed. Montreal made Origins and Valhalla. Quebec made Odyssey, and now this. So they're kind of leapfrogging each other. The weird thing is that in between Odyssey and Shadows, Quebec also made Immortals: Phoenix Rising. Remember that game?
Yeah. Oh, that game was cool. Yeah,
that game's super cool, and also that game is as Breath of the Wild as it gets. Like that game is extremely like. Every 5 feet, there's something cool to run into to do. You can glide around all over the place. You can you do the survey the landscape and look for stuff and go to it. Like, it's kind of weird that they swung back this hard in the direction of like a much more old fashioned kind of open world game.
Well, and even that Outlaws game, the Star Wars Outlaws game that came out last year, had a much higher density than like any of the current Assassin's Creeds I've played.
Like Outlaws was a game I really enjoyed roaming around and find, like a lot of the little things
except
you would
Tatooine.
Find. Fair. Like that game was not bad for exploration.
No, and like this, I don't hate either, but it is you run it. Look, I still really like this game because I like the mechanics of the game. I still like the assassinating.
Yeah, it's what you're doing once you get to a map icon is fun.
Yeah,
but it's the in between that is just kind of tedious.
I am powered up enough now where you do not want to be in a town with me, like, or a castle like this. She can just eliminate an entire village and be okay. I have leveled to where I feel the power fantasy is real. She is a true assassin. And it's a lot of fun, but yes, it is a lot of repetition on the table there. A lot of the castles are very similar. A lot of the side quests are very similar. Probably the most unique things are those little dungeons you do, but there's very few of those. But still enjoying it. I'm going to keep going. When I get bored, I dip back into the main story, or I just go hit some of the main targets. But I have enough side quests that are scattered all around the map that I am just like, I will get there when I get there. That is literally like a 6-minute ride on this horse or something to get there. And I am 6 minutes in a straight line, and I'm going to stop and hit everything. I'm just not up for that right now.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. It bums me out. Yeah, like anytime you feel like I'm on a horse long enough, I want to get my phone out and check Twitter or whatever, it feels bad.
Yeah, but it is. But again, I don't want to take away from my enjoyment of the game. Still really enjoying it. I just wish there was some way to get around to those deep corners of the map a little faster.
Yep. Like I'm
sure they bring you there naturally.
Yeah, like it takes itself very seriously. I almost feel like maybe this game could have used a little more of the goofy Assassin's Creed. It's like, where is your Leonardo da Vinci equivalent here to be like, hey, I made you a flying machine. Now you can just fly.
Or like we have a network. We have a network that can spirit you to like some mechanic or the scouts or something that can unlock fast travel points in a town, right? Like, spend 4 scouts to uncover the fast travel point in the town if you don't want, because there are a lot of shortcuts in this game of like, just spend a scout to get rid of your warning, your wanted level, or spend a scout to do this. Give me a scout that can unlock the fast travel point near a town.
Well, we know that the world of Assassin's Creed, like the meta game, they've invented fast travel because we've had fast travel in previous Assassin's Creed games, right? Like, yeah, it seems like since the whole game is a simulation, they should just give, like, you should just be able to click anywhere on the map and be like, I want to load up when I was there.
Yeah, I have unlocked some data fragments. I've made my way through some of that battle pass that's in there. I don't know where they're going to go with that Animus stuff.
Did you ever find out what happened to the guy from the first game?
Desmond?
No,
Desmond?
we don't talk about Desmond anymore.
Yeah, they closed his loop. They finished that story.
We need Alex for that. Alex has played through.
He's the lore guy.
For the recent ones.
Okay.
The last thing I'll say real quick is I was looking up different studios working on stuff. I did not realize the next one, which is currently called Project Hexa. I don't think they have a final name for it yet. Clint Hocking is directing that game.
Oh my gosh.
Who is known for stuff like Far Cry 2 and Watch Dogs Legion. Like more like kind of systemic types of open world design. So that actually makes me really curious to see if they're going to take it. Like Watch Dogs Legion was maybe not totally successful, but that game had ideas, like they had some really interesting ideas for populating the world with
that was
stuff.
where you recruit the agents, right?
You like generated people that you could recruit into your network and stuff like that. So like
you could meet somebody on the street and turn them into a super terrorist.
That's right. The granny.
Also that game is set like kind of like Holy Roman Empire, like Central Europe.
The next one?
Yeah.
That's announced. I didn't even know they had that.
Yeah, they remember it was back when they started talking about their Assassin's Creed Infinity stuff.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, we're going to do like a big umbrella launcher thing. They announced like 3 new Assassin's Creed projects all at once.
I should look that up again. Okay.
It was Shadows, Project Hexa, and like some I think the mobile stuff or something all at once.
And it's like Crusades?
No, because it's we're talking like Germany, Czechoslovakia type area, like Central Europe and it's like it sounds like very occult focused, like a lot of witchcraft type stuff. So it sounds
okay.
that sounds like a really interesting setting, especially if they're going to get weird with the mechanics.
Get weird.
Yeah.
But still liking it. I'm hoping to finish up during the break and then go back to Avowed and then maybe just maybe some Atomfall. All right. I think that's the games part of this. Brad, you got an email?
Yes.
Or 2 or 3?
Yeah, I solicited some Switch 2 emails on Blue Sky before this.
Okay.
Thank you to everyone who wrote in. Let's go through a couple of them here. Adam from Manchester in the UK.
Okay.
I think, have we touched on this recently? Maybe we did. Will the Switch 2 be the last Nintendo console that Miyamoto works on?
Oh, you mean like retirement?
The man turned 73 this year and is vastly overdue a comfortable retirement. That seems pretty likely. Seeing as the previous Switch was on the market for 8 years. Like
he also might live forever. I'm fine with Miyamoto living forever and continuing to work for as long as he wants to work. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like he's not out there on camera as much these days. I mean, I guess he was pretty visible around the museum when they opened that and some stuff like that. And I think probably the theme park and movie stuff a little bit. Mm-hmm. But like, you don't really see him on camera for video game stuff so much anymore. Like it feels like they have very much attempted to pass the torch over the last few years.
I had this weird moment. I did the career day for my kids thing, and there was a question. I don't know if I said this already on some podcast, but I was surrounded by some very talented adults who have like real jobs that are impressive, and they were always asking them like they kept asking them like, "What famous person do you know? What famous person?" And then somebody asked me like, "What famous person do you know?" I was like, we don't really interview a lot of people that I think you would think famous. Like we used to interview some voice actors for games, this, that, and the other thing. And then I was talking to somebody later on about that, and they're like, "Yeah, but the people you interview, you think are famous." I was like, "I do." I was like, and then I was like, looked over at my son. I was like, "Do you think the person who created Mario is famous?" And they're like, "Wait, you've met that person?" I was like, "Yeah, in an interview." I was like, "How is that possible?" I don't think I realized like to him that seems ancient, right? Like from a time beyond. Like you met the person who invented film,
right. Or you met the creator of Mickey Mouse or whatever.
Yeah, right. And it's like, yeah, no, he's like still working there. Like he's whatever. And I was like, I mean, there were people who've talked to him many, many times. Like that's crazy. So I think when he retires, let's knock on wood, retires and has a peaceful like time with it and doesn't just like slump over at the office trying to work on Nintendo stuff. But like that'll be a very big day for Nintendo. They probably want to hold on to him in some capacity for very long. And I bet he's working on the next console right now. I bet that console started 2 years ago, whatever's next, in some drawing board. But Miyamoto, there are very few figures like Miyamoto that I think you can say will retire and things will be the same. Like that'll just be an extremely different Nintendo.
Yeah, I bet they make it worth his while to be some sort of ambassador.
Yeah. Is he that already?
Keep him on retainer. I mean, I think he's been in an advisory role or like a very high level. You know, he's not directing individual. I don't even know what the last game he directed was. It may have been like 20 years or something since he directed a game. You know, like he handed Zelda off with, I think Ocarina was the first one he did, or maybe it was Majora. I think it might have been Majora. It was yeah, of course. I'm pretty sure he directed Ocarina, but I think maybe Majora was the first Zelda.
Was he still involved in Pikmin?
Yeah,
I feel
Pikmin
like he
was
loves
like his. Pikmin was his baby. I don't know. Did he direct Pikmin 4? I don't think he's like on the ground directing games so much anymore. I think he's much more high up, like advising each team on different stuff.
It seems like he's the one that they like do the initial pitch with, and he's just sitting there and either thumbs up or thumbs downing, right? Apparently he was involved with the movie in Super Nintendo World most recently.
Yeah. That's like I said. I think he's probably more high level creative these days.
I agree though. This for what it's worth, I think this might be the last launch that Miyamoto maybe is technically involved in. You know, at Nintendo.
Yeah, maybe he just loves his job.
Oh yeah, I hope so.
His official role now, I think, is creative fellow.
Okay, once you're at fellow status, you're like not as hands on in the day to day, right?
Creative fellow sounds like an indie game dev that makes cool games that I would like. Oh, it's another joint by Creative Fellow.
Oh yeah, it's Vinny Caravello. He's a creative fellow.
Yeah, is he part of Creative Fellow?
Or like what is the term for that in the software world? There's like it's like individual contributor or distinguished engineer or something. Like the same situation of like this person is too accomplished and too good at their job to
ever let go
for us to like stick them in the trenches anymore.
Often
we need to just let them do what they want because they're too valuable.
Often though, people who are ICs are also maybe not great in team environments.
That's also possible. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Another email?
Yeah. Justin writes in, Switch 2 plus tariffs. Are the price points based on current existing economic conditions, or do we expect the prices to potentially increase more with new tariffs taking place?
Shrug. I don't know.
I guess it's hard to say. I mean, I feel like it's kind of like not a great look to immediately turn around and change your price right after you announce it.
Yeah, they can't raise the price.
Nintendo nailed down this date to do the reveal of this thing 3 months ago. Like they had no idea that this was also going to be the day that a bunch of new tariffs got the wraps taken off in America. Like, so they weren't going to just change at the last minute, I don't think. But like, who knows what's going to happen in the next 48 hours that might affect their bottom line on this stuff. But I feel like they're pretty committed at this point.
So from talking to the PC people a lot, I've been talking to a lot of PC hardware vendors, and the thing that I've heard over and over again is that they talk to the smartest people they know about what the worst case for the tariffs is going to be, and then they add a percentage to that, and then that's the street price, because they know that once they announce a price, they can't raise it, right?
Yeah. But you can always maybe walk it back and celebrate a slight reduction.
That's not how it works either.
or like we said earlier,
sweet margins.
If conditions improve, then you've just got a better profit margin.
Yeah.
I guess there's always a chance the way that the tariffs might work in the States is, I guess, stateside retailers could increase the price and just say like, look, that's a Best Buy and then the retailers here are just like, that's what it costs here. It will cost different stuff in other countries. There's the MSRP and like, but I agree. I think you kind of just go for what the above average might be, right? And then aim for that.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I guess the bigger question would be, in a world where there were no tariffs, and let's just focus on the Nintendo stuff, in a world where there were no tariffs, would this price have been lower?
I think
possibly.
Probably, yeah.
I
bet this is $400.
Yeah, they definitely could have been.
Take that to the voting block, okay? Go out.
Yeah, I mean, no shit.
Get out there.
Like that absolutely probably wouldn't move the needle for some
Cory
number of
Booker,
people.
add that to your speech. Start talking about, and they're launching the Switch at $450. That's a $400 console, folks.
Yeah, like we've talked about this on the Ramblecast before. Like I was all set to buy that new cheap iPhone, what would have been the iPhone SE, and now they call it the 16e, but like that's supposed to be the budget iPhone. I was all set to buy that thing until the base model came out at $600.
Just wait until the new base model of the iPhone regulars come out, and everybody's like, "Oh shit, these are $2,000 now."
Bro. Like everything is so inflated now.
And guess what? The prices are never coming back down.
Yes, that's the fear. Is even if all of this stuff gets walked back, like once they inure the public to these conditions, then they have no incentive to bring them back down to earth.
Look, man, I was in the Valley. I went to Wiener Schnitzel. I got a corn dog, a Chicago dog, and a milkshake, and it was $20.
Yeah,
it was Wiener Schnitzel.
Yeah,
that's how they get you.
Yeah.
You could have upgraded your Breath of the Wild and the Tears of the Kingdom for that much.
They were like, "Do you want fries with that?" I was like, "No, I can't afford fries, man."
Can I have one fry?
Can I get $1 off if I only have one of the peppers on the Chicago dog?
Brad, you got another email?
Yes. We'll do two more quick ones.
Sure.
Ethan from Grand Forks, North Dakota. What do you suppose the chances are that the magnets that attach the Joy-Cons are going to fail?
Percent, X%?
Like, yeah, or just general ballpark. I mean, nothing's impossible. I'm sure they've tested. I'm sure they've tested the hell out of those things. I assume the base technology is proven.
I'm telling
magnets.
You get a
magnets
Huggy.
Get weaker over time.
Yeah, totally. You can demagnetize magnets too, but these are programmable magnets. These are new technology.
But I mean, like there's no amount of testing can replicate the data that comes back from millions upon millions of units being sold, right? Like, who knows?
And they can't get testers into their labs that are as stupid as your average American consumer. So, I'm telling you, you're gonna get a necklace that you put on around it. They're gonna ship them to everybody who buys a Switch 2, and you attach the Switch 2 to that. Like one end goes in the top USB port, one end goes in the bottom, and then if the Joy-Cons break off, it catches it before it hits the ground.
God. What was it? The Wii condoms? Remember those things? Like the grip, like that. Let's never forget, okay, folks.
I'm calling it. It's a wave of news stories about people destroying their brand new Switch 2s when the things snap off during heated gaming moments.
I put my Switch 2 next to my iPhone and it deleted it. It must be the magnets.
Oh man, give me a good old fashioned moral panic around the Switch 2.
Oh, yes.
Man. Yeah.
Yes. My floppies, they're all blank now. All right.
What you need is a game that requires you to stand and hold the Switch 2 out at arm's length and spin as fast as you can. And that's the Switch 2 killer.
Yeah. All right. Last email. We got multiple emails about this subject. This is clearly on everybody's mind today. Zach from Buffalo Grove, Illinois. I'll read this one. Given that Mario Kart has ripped the Band-Aid off the $79 price point, it seems absolutely certain that GTA 6 will do the same at a minimum, but seems really likely they'll go all the way for the $99 base price. Bets?
Look, would you rather have a $60 live service Mario Kart or GTA 6 or $100 no microtransaction? Oh,
no.
That's a false dichotomy because in this case they're doing both.
I'm not accepting your equivalency here.
They'll charge you $100 for GTA 6 and monetize the shit out of it on the back end.
You'll get it, but you'll just get like $5 in shark cards.
It seems way more believable today than it did yesterday, and it didn't seem unbelievable yesterday or the day before. Like analysts and I think didn't Strauss Zelnick also? He didn't say $100, but I think he's been making comments about the revenue potential of that game. But you've been seeing analysts for like 2-3 months now saying, "Hey, $100 GTA 6 seems possible. Like this might be the one." And like as of today, that just seems like closer than ever.
Definitely feels closer. There's still some TBD on what's going on with the Mario Kart. If it's a true $80 digital, I just don't understand why the Donkey Kong is still $70. But if it's true, yeah, absolutely. If Nintendo can get away with it, GTA can absolutely get away with it, and they can add some. I just at some point you can't blame tariffs. You have to say the cost of development's higher because we're buying these digitally, right? So it's not like you can be like the cost of production went up or shipping got up or the shipping chain went up. But I think it's fair to say what I would want in that world, and this is a little outside the scope of this question, is for them to say, we're trying to pay fair wages, like we're trying to make, this is the real cost of development, right? Not we're padding out the, CEOs, shareholders.
Yeah. Yes, we've got share buybacks to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's also a difference between Mario Kart and GTA, right? GTA.
Nope. I'm not.
I mean, they are both video games.
Both drive cars, right?
But you do drive cars in both, and you both fire blue shells out of your car to kill the other people. But I mean, GTA is an enormous art project, right? Like it is hiring a buttload of artists. It's an enormous scale art production game. And
I bet GTA 6 costs 20 times to make what Mario Kart World does.
$1 billion is the thing that people I know were throwing around at GDC, is the number I kept hearing at GDC, including marketing and all that stuff. So like an enormous amount of money spent. And like that Mario Kart game looked good, but they did not spend $1 billion making that Mario Kart game, right? And they're going to sell one for every single Switch that they sell, pretty much. So
sure, yeah.
I feel like, okay, inflation has hit everybody. Games are more expensive. There's weird tariff stuff going on. I got kind of problems if like Nintendo has a tariffed version of the game that comes in a cartridge form from Japan and a non-tariffed version of the game that's a digital download that I get from the internet, and they're charging me the same for both of those. Like I get that it's egalitarian for people who are buying cartridges, whatever. I like pass some savings on to the customer is all I'm saying. And I like, there's a reckoning coming on game prices, because the thing that's happened on Steam in the last couple of years is that AAA games are selling for $60 or $70 and everything else is selling for $10, and there's very little in between. Mm-hmm. Like last year, if you look at games that sold well in the $30 and $40 range, it was basically Helldivers and Path of Exile 2, and that's kind of it in that $30 price range, not counting sales and stuff like that.
And probably worth also mentioning while you're talking about game sales, it's like, you just keep seeing that data repeated, which I believe to be factual, but you hear it repeated a lot, that 60%, I forget exactly what the percentage is, some large percent are just playing the same games from 10 years ago, right? Like the games that are charting on Steam these days, it's like 2 new games and 18 old games that are more than 5 years old in a lot of cases. So like on one hand, good on Nintendo rather, for trying to keep the race from the bottom from happening on their platform. But also they released like 14,000 Switch 1 games. They let 14,000 Switch 1 games come out on their platform. So like, I don't know, man. I'm concerned about increased game prices in a world where you can't get $20 for what would have been a high value indie game 10 years ago. There's probably also a problem, and Will, maybe you can really add to this or disabuse me of this, but I would think that if GTA gets out there and it's like, it's $100 GTA, we know you're going to pay for it because it's GTA. Everybody's not going to pay $100 for the other games, right? So you wind up having to kind of take the hit on your game because people are not going to look at your game equally to GTA, even though relatively the cost might just be as high, right? And like you need that.
One of the other emails we got and asked if this game has ushered in surge pricing for video games. Like, I mean, kind of what you're saying, like games that can get away with it, doing this, but not everybody.
I'm kind of not against that, right? Like, am I going to pay $100 for Indiana Jones? No, I'll wait until that game's on sale for $50 and I'll pick it up then, or $60 and pick it up then. Am I going to buy Mario Kart for $80 the moment it comes out? Yeah, 100%, because I'm going to play 1,000 hours of Mario Kart over the life of that console.
Yeah, but Nintendo games never go on sale. They have like those little itty bitty sales.
Once in a while, it'll be like $10 off.
And they didn't talk about their voucher thing either. The Nintendo Online voucher coupon deal, where you pay, basically you get $20 off when you buy 2 games. It was how that worked on Switch 1 games. So
we did just go to 70. What, like 2 years ago?
Kind of
3.
When was that?
Is that PS5?
I think it was roughly the transition to this generation. Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. the Nintendo stuff with the $80, it's still a little too, the dust is still in the air. I'd still like to see confirmation that that's whatever that is. But yeah,
like
to the questioner's point, GTA would be the one.
Yeah,
Yes.
and like I said, I feel less gross. Like Animal Crossing, they eventually did some stuff that you had to have Nintendo Online, I think, to get access to, right? But like if you're spending $80 and you get a live service game that doesn't have live service monetization, that feels pretty good. I don't know.
I mean, it's expensive.
Games are expensive.
But yeah, maybe they're looking at like, you're going to pay $80. You're going to play this for 5 years, and that's the money we're going to get off of you.
Yeah,
we have looked at the data. You might buy this Switch 2. You might buy Mario Kart, and it's possible you don't buy anything else for 3 years. So we need to get that money out of you.
Yeah.
Is that it for the emails?
Yeah. Let's call it.
All right, and that is going to do it for the show, folks. We take a deep breath here. We are going to be off next week, like I said before. We've got a bunch of stuff going on, though, before we head out. We have basically done everything we can to finish and succeed and be immortal at 33 Immortals. Will Smith, you joined us. We are the best immortals.
Until that last area's in, we're the immortalist.
Look, we have beaten Void Crew. We have defeated 33 more. Look, we were in the room where it happened, okay? Our corpses were there when that boss was beaten.
We were dead boss adjacent.
we helped out. We did some helping. So now we just need some updates. When we come back, maybe that Void Crew update. I don't know what the release is for that, but we should play some more soon.
Every time the words Void Crew are said, I go and check again to see if that update's out.
So they are signaling.
Nope,
I don't want to talk about stuff that's in the secret beta area of their Discord, but they are signaling. They're starting to talk about the stuff that's in the post 6-player post save update.
Okay.
So like there's a new ship coming, but that's not in this update that is presumably going through their like test and release channels now.
Well, when we're back, I'd love to jump back into some more Void Crew.
Heck yeah,
that's possible.
Yeah, as soon as that update's out.
Yesterday or Tuesday, rather, I played some typing into a console game. Some of them were better than others, but I do like a text adventure. And by the end of that, I think I just wound up playing a crossword puzzle. There was one game that was like a horror game that was just not as fun as I feel like it could have been. The Dead Letter Department, cool setup, but then there's a lot of work. You're just typing a lot. You're transcribing like letters that optical character recognition couldn't scan, and you're just basically typing those in. And at some point I was like this, and it would send it back to you if it were wrong. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is just paragraphs of text. But it was a horror game, but the horror just wasn't coming fast enough. But there was also one that was, I think it's called Run Tavern Quest, that had a demo that is you're basically on the reverse side of you're the computer in a like a Zork, and you have to respond to an idiot user.
Oh, wow.
And, that sounds great.
That's an incredible concept.
And so like it was fighting, this guy, Steve, was fighting this wolf, and the wolf was kicking his ass, and he just kept attacking it. And you have to be like, what do you, and there's a CPU in there. It's like, I don't know, this guy's an idiot. Do you just want to like buff his weapon? What are you going to do? And like, no, I'm just going to let him die. And he died. So
what was that called?
Run Tavern Quest. It's a fun concept. It was in demo. So that was a fun one there too. That was on Tuesday. You can go check that out. That stream is archived. I did that stream. I have to readjust my bit rates here. That stream was about 3.5-4 hours long. That file was over 300 gigs.
That's too big.
I have to knock the bit rate down, I think, on our recordings again. Too big. YouTube wouldn't take it. So I had to recompress it. Friday, Brad, you and I are back together. I should mention Alex. We didn't mention Alex is on vacation. If you're wondering where Alex has been this whole time, he's been very quiet. He is awed by the Switch 2. Alex was there for the Switch 2 talkover, which we did. If you want to go check that out, that archive is also up. But Brad, you and I will be there on Friday checking out some stuff as well before we head off into break.
I think we're going to play Schedule 1.
The game's
Schedule
good.
1. That's drug
is it
dealing.
good?
I downloaded that and was like, I'm going to check this out. And then I looked up and it was like 3:00 in the morning the other day. So,
oh, wow. That good, huh? It looks, I mean, it's getting a lot of Getting a lot of attention on Steam.
Look,
right
I
now.
bought some Viagra at the convenience store, and I put it in a mixer with some weed that I grew, and then I made super weed that I sold to the guy behind the Taco Time, and his eyes turned real red, and then he was back like 3 hours later. Was like, "Hey man, you got more of that weed?"
Oh no.
Yeah. So
this looks pretty good.
It looks asset flippy at first, and then you look at it, and like the character art is real good, and you can tell how stoned the people are based on their face shape and
their eyeball tech seems very well developed for communicating levels of stonedness.
Okay.
Yeah, like I haven't unlocked coke or methamphetamines yet, so that's but yeah, it starts out with some real Breaking Bad vibes. Like it's a game, it's a video game.
Is there a GTA type aspect to it as well as there's clearly like a management sim aspect of building your drug empire, and it's unlike any of those. It doesn't fit into like the management sim or the GT. Like it's like it's got like real voxely. It's not voxels, but it's got like square guys basically, and you have this the little town that you do most of your work in, or at least where I am. Like it's basically like a little bit of a stealth game because you have to avoid the cops and they'll stop and frisk you anytime. So like there's a lot going on there. I think there's a multiplayer component to it too. Yeah, we're gonna try it. Try it multiplayer. I
haven't tried that yet, but it's much. I expected something kind of flimsy, and there's a lot more game there than I expected.
Okay.
Well, we'll be doing that Friday. You can watch us get virtually arrested. Yeah. We'll see what happens there. And then we'll be kicking off more Watchcast stuff in I think a week, not next week, the week after that. And that'll be our documentary Watchcast month, but we'll have plenty of stuff up while we're on the break. I'll have some stuff up while we're on the break. We'll have Never Been a Better Podcast, an archive of that in the main feed. We've got a Ramblecast we'll have up there. Planorama will be going up later this week. That stuff you can check out also on the Patreon. There's plenty of stuff to catch up on there. Plenty of Watchcast to catch up on over at patreon.com/Nextlander. You can go there and find a tier that's right for you. All the stuff there, I say this a lot, all the stuff there's still there. It's still on that Patreon. Right. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, waiting for you to come unlock it.
I think next week's Ramblecast, which we're recording tomorrow, might be number 200.
Is that right?
If I'm not mistaken.
Wait, was that this week's 200?
No, this week's was 199. So.
Okay. Great. Fantastic.
That math checks
200
out.
Ramblecasts just sitting there for you.
Just sitting there. Video or audio, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to get.
Wait, is this a video podcast? Hold on.
The Ramblecast?
No, is this one that we're on right now?
This one is not.
Oh,
no, this is for the super. No, this is. It's for the tier that we don't list, though. This is for my personal tier.
Oh, wow.
I just have this. Record them all. You guys just never knew. We do have a tier there, though, the Mysterious Benefactors tier, and that tier gets their names read on this year's show. I'm going to read those names for you right now, starting with Sean Miller, RRE, Alpha Rhythm, Infelicitous Rips, David L, Kelly F, Brian Lucier, Skywarp, John Hubbard, NXL Retirement Fund, Evan Cook, Mark Wilhelm, Jerry Lee, Deidre finally bought a new bed, Gary Pejke, Robert Fisher, and the rest. Bunny Themed, Jad Rita, Statics, Brian Murphy, Randy Duax, Randy, yes, Brad, there are two of us, Alderson, Andrew Tiebkin, Alex Wu, It's Me JP, Edward Chick, Andrew Slosky, Steve Lynn, Matthew Herrig, David Campos, Alcoholic, and Tyler Treese. Thanks to everybody who supported us. Thanks to our mysterious benefactors. And of course, thank you, Will Smith.
Hey, thanks for having me. This was fun. Switch 2.
This was fun.
It's a
Switch
thing.
2.
The Switcher.
Finally.
Switch harder.
Nope.
I still am bummed about the Super Switch thing, but I get it.
Everybody gets it. We get it. You don't want your thing to be SS. It's not the. You don't want the Super Switch.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
Not in this economy. Yeah. Brad Shoemaker, Switch 2 is here.
Yep.
This will be our last podcast before we come back from break. So hopefully you have a great break and enjoy it.
Same
and recuperate. We'll find out more about the Switch 2, I'm sure. It'll be nice to have the week off to not have to do corrections from the Switch 2 news and come back and we'll just forget all about it. Thanks to everybody for listening. I hope you're doing well out there, or at least as well as can be. Thanks for supporting us, and we'll be back, not next week, but the week after. We'll be back soon. See ya.